The one that demanded it.
Right?
Good day, good evening, good night, good afternoon, good morning, and good good day, I guess. Good
Yes.
night. Something. Good something. I mean, let something else be good except this man's finals, but everything else is good well, not really good. But welcome to another exciting episode of Real Tennis Fans. This US Open is officially closed. It's
Oof.
done. It's dusted. And as always, we can't have it two things that we like. We can only have one. But before, you know, we always have these uneven, there's never a real true balance. You know what I mean? It's not there anymore. Mm. But before I go any further, let me introduce my co-hostesses with the mostesses. We have, well, just went up a little octave up there. What's wrong with me? Let me drink some water before I embarrass myself. People might know me out here. We have Janina from Far in Ohio. How are you doing today, Janina?
I was better yesterday, but I'm good.
Hmm. I see that. And how are you feeling though? Otherwise,
I'm feeling like I'm exhausted because I just sat through several hours of very boring
oh,
tennis.
why would you do that though?
Oh,
Well, because I knew that I was going to be expected to have some sort of opinion.
I see. Oh,
That's it. I mean, I can't say that I sat down and watched every point. I did not, but it
oh,
was it was always on in the background. I got my nails done.
look at you. Really?
Yeah, that's what I
Polishing
did.
off?
Oh yeah.
Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. I don't believe you. That's such a girly girl thing for you to do. You
I
never do
know,
that.
right? I don't, but I was bored, so that's what you get.
That's Andrine rubbing off on you
I
because you
That
guess
is
have.
very
so.
that is
whose
very much
nails
my
are
brand.
always on point, by the way.
It's true.
Oh, let's get something straight. I did my feet, not my hands. I never do my
Oh,
hands.
Oh my God, Maya said she got her laundry done. Okay, y'all need
okay.
to be
Well, we don't need to see your feet then. We don't need to see your feet.
right.
It's not that kind of chat.
Was everyone doing something else instead of
Yes,
watching the tennis?
Yeah.
yes.
Oh
Howard
God.
was
Oh my God. Who
working.
is this?
No, I did. Yeah, it's all right. It's true. Then I came downstairs. I was like, I can't do this. I can't just let it sit, and be like, I didn't watch any of it. So I went back down, second set, three,
Who are these
four, and then
people?
hung into the bitter end.
Do
Yeah,
they
it was
not know
good.
what real tennis podcast is?
Oh no, stop it. So let's finish up the intro so we can get in this because
We
somebody on
have
our chat
Andrine
wants Margaret
from Slowly.
Court's record to be beaten by
Oh
Novak
God,
Djokovic.
who is that? Okay,
A
go on.
lovely, lovely gentleman.
Derek Edwardson. We have Andrine from Slowly Tennis Travel. How are you doing, Andrine?
I'm very good. I did a little solely tennis traveling.
Yes, you
Um,
did. I did see
just
you in New
caught the
York.
Labor Day. Yes, just caught the Labor
Hey,
Day in
Deb.
New York.
And you met the aunties, of course.
Met the aunties for a brief spell. Saw some
Uh,
tennis.
hmm
Saw the best men's tennis probably.
Yes, I think that has been the consensus. I know you. I without even saying it, I know you have to be talking about Sasha versus Sinner.
Yes,
Hey,
yes.
Yvette is here, and we have moi, and which is the homosexual of the podcast. But we have a special guest today. We have not a special. I mean, not really a special
I
guest.
don't know if Howard is
Unspecial.
special anymore. He's been here too much.
He's a
Oh
guest.
my
He's nonetheless a guest.
gosh! He's
He got a
still
day job, and we
special.
don't pay him. Okay, so he will remain a guest. Okay,
Okay,
True,
fine.
true, true, true,
because
true.
we don't pay him. Okay, and y'all almost fucked up that man day job a minute ago. Okay, so before we got on there, so he is a guest.
Great
The
sense of
Okay,
opinions that
fine.
we
comprehension.
express are not his. Okay, they are not
Ooh,
his.
thank
Only
you.
his opinions are his. But we have Howard Bryant. How are you doing, Howard?
I am good. Thank you. Thank you, Reels. Good to be here again. And what did I do? I did watch it. I watched it, but I do have to say before y'all even get started that I hope the energy level rises in this podcast because I can just hear the sad face. I can hear sad face all three of y'all right now haven't watched this final.
It's not
Is that
sad.
supposed to have a sad face final?
You know what? It wasn't a sad face final, but what
It
you're
was
hearing is
boring.
the
There's
lack
a
of
difference.
energy. It was really a dull
Yes.
final. It was like watching a second round match shot through late night in Shanghai somewhere. You know, just
Getting
not
ready for
doing
the Asian swing. It's
Yeah.
coming this week.
Oh
Yeah,
my
I feel like
god.
this match said nothing. It had nothing to give, other than Nole is
24.
whatever he is.
He's
But
24, right? Or is
I
it
mean,
24? Oh, he's tied,
Yes.
right?
Margaret record
was-
is not a record. Could be like it's not a thing.
We're not discussing that. I'm
Well,
ignoring
it is.
that
It is on
person.
Twitter. I'm just saying we started counting Margaret, so now we have to. So
No, we
Why
don't.
did we start
we
counting
don't.
Margaret?
No,
we
we
started
don't.
counting Margaret a while ago, and so now
No,
We
everyone.
only
I didn't
count-
say when. I said why.
Well, we
listen-
only do it for players that we don't really like. Like we have 2 Eastern European players in the final today. And the world doesn't always like Eastern Europeans about as much as they don't like black people sometimes. So therefore we have to bring up Margaret Court. Get it right.
No,
No,
I mean,
no.
but
I
you
mean, I
don't
don't
like
know
them
about-
brought
either.
up Margaret Court when Serena started when she passed Steffi and all of a sudden
Right,
was the next
right.
Because
People we
no
don't
Grand Slam,
like.
because
But
no
listen,
Grand
you
Slam
need-
record title.
You need a chase, though. Come on, listen. The
But
real
a chase
context
for
is
what though? I
listen,
mean, like at this
because let's
point,
be honest. What is the reason to care about Novak's numbers increasing if it's not against something? You can't just count something going up.
distance.
You've got to
Distance from
do
the
Sure
other
we
two.
can.
I mean, distance from the other two. Once you get over 20, who cares? Like that's the thing. I mean, listen. Within the context of Novak Djokovic's career and the way that we've covered men's tennis, once
Yeah.
you've gotten past 20, what will 24, 25 tell us about Djokovic? Like, especially if in the future they decide to collapse it into best of 3.
Yeah, it's true. I mean,
You-
24 it's a big deal. I felt Novak was going to be 25 to 26.
Mhm.
Once Roger began to slow. Once Roger had the knee injury, I was like, okay, because there's really not. You guys have been talking about this on the pod for years, and then back on Twitter as well about how the next gens. The reason why these guys can play until they're 60 is because there's no more next gens. So
Yeah.
who's to
Yeah.
stop what they are doing? Who's to stop? Rafa's not coming back. I mean, his next time he plays is going to be a farewell tour. That's the reason why I had some hope for this match, because I thought that Medvedev played the type of style that could push Djokovic. They're essentially the same player in a lot of ways, which is why the match was kind of boring. What they say in boxing, styles make fights. Their
Mhm.
styles are so similar. You can marvel at the ball striking, but there was no contrast.
Nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the challenge
Well-
with these 2 types of players. I've been saying it too, is that they are made better by their opponents.
Especially Novak.
Yeah. That's like a wall. You're watching a wall play. So you need somebody who's going to be doing something on the court. And all the rallies were the same.
That's right.
20 plus.
There were
Somebody
so
bent
many
over at the
times.
end.
There were
Right.
so many times that Medvedev could have ended
Yes.
points and he just hit it back to him. My problem with today was the Medvedev we got against Alcaraz was not the Medvedev we got today. And
but it's a different player though.
Yeah.
I get that, but his energy level wasn't the same. He was not as aggressive. It
Yeah.
was not the same for me. And I
He's
think
also in a
if
final and maybe a
But I
little
think he
tight
wanted to
nerve.
prove a
sure,
point.
right.
But I think
Well,
he needed to
it
prove a
didn't
point
work.
against Carlos. I think he
Well,
needed
yeah.
to prove a point against Carlos. I think the
He
match
didn't have a point against Nole.
But I think he played better tennis
in-
against Carlos.
But in the sense that if you lose to Nole, it's whatever, right? Because
Yes.
it's like he's expected to lose that match anyway,
Okay.
right? Like there was no point in thinking that and he said it himself, like he doesn't really beat these guys and whatever, right? But I think he didn't want to be. I mean, Carlos has in essence embarrassed Medvedev the last time they played. in Indian Wells at Wimbledon. Medvedev looked like he was ranked 50 in the world.
Medvedev looked like a fucking beast when he was playing Carlos the other night. He
Right.
did not look like that
But
tonight. And he had opportunities to look like that. He was making poor decisions. You don't have Novak halfway off the court and you don't hit it to the open court. He did that time and time and time again.
that is true.
And it
But
was
you know, I
frustrating
always
to
say, you know,
watch. He
sometimes,
did
I
not
mean,
play smart tennis.
right, that is true. But you know, the thing about with Nole, and I think we discussed this with Carlos, is that the thing with Nole, when you're playing Nole at this point with these guys, is that they're expected to be perfect throughout. And I think that pressure, you know, is killing them and choking them. He's
Killing
having
who?
trouble
Well,
holding
I'm not
serve.
buying that.
We weren't even expecting I wasn't expecting Medvedev to be perfect. I just expected him to be present. His brain was not on the court.
Correct.
Like I mean,
He
9 times out of
played,
he
he got
restarted
exactly what he
points.
deserved.
Yeah, he restarted points time and time again. And especially in
Yep.
that second set when Djokovic looked like he realized the audience was like, wait a minute, it's going to be over in 90 minutes. I'm what's going on? And then he started doing that weird thing he does where it's like he starts doing himself a disservice in the middle of because he was comfortably on the way to breaking Medvedev in the second set. Comfortably. And then suddenly he started breathing heavy, bending over.
Yeah, that's
You know,
the thing I don't like
I
about
was
Nole.
like,
It's
what was
just like,
that?
oh,
It was
girl.
weird.
I mean,
And
one
I-
of the many things. I
No,
just
but it
don't
was
like
fine.
that.
But even in that game, even in that gimme game,
Let me hit the ball right back to him.
open
Yeah.
court,
You had
several-
set point. You work for set point, and then you throw it away. Even Nole was laughing at you. It was just like, the fuck are you doing?
Nolan's
Like,
like,
Nolan
I'm trying
was
to
prepared
give
to
you
play
the
full
second
set.
set. I'm giving you the
Yeah.
second set.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Nole was prepared to play 4 sets.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought that the thing that was really sort of jarring about this match was one, I don't think that Medvedev played smart at all throughout the match.
Yep. None.
There was no adjustment. He gave away serve and volley in the deuce from start to finish.
It was so
He did not
stupid.
move up. He didn't move up at
Never.
all. It's like
Which he
you're not
did
gonna-
against Alcaraz.
which he did
He
against
Right.
was
Alcaraz.
willing to be aggressive against Alcaraz.
That's right. You've got to change your positioning a tiny bit.
I
He
mean,
gave
he
it away the
looked-
entire match. It was like he made no adjustment on that. The second thing that he did was it reminded me of the one thing that these 3 guys have done in terms of creating the modern era that we have now. Before you had guys who were specialists and better on one court in one major than the other than the next, and then all of a sudden they're supermen on every single surface.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what you have with this is there's no way you're going to beat Novak Djokovic from behind a baseline. And the number of times he had a chance to
Nope.
close, the number of times he had
Yeah.
a chance to come to net, he didn't. He looked like Rublev. I'm like, what is there? Like an invisible fence there on the baseline where you're just not
It was
gonna
like he had this
come
string
forward?
pulling him.
Well, and he would go backwards so often. And
He
the
played
thing,
like a junior. He played like a junior.
well,
He also played like he was confused. I mean, maybe they didn't come up with an effective game plan, or he
They
got
certainly
stuck
didn't.
mentally. He seemed like he was just stuck mentally there.
yeah, and he also didn't. He also played the way, and Andreen, I'm gonna offend you right now, but I apologize. I'll make it up to you in person. I promise. He reminded me a little bit of your very, very good friend Casper Ruud, that he was afraid of him when he played
Oh,
Nadal.
shit.
He played like he was afraid of him. He
I
didn't.
would
Yeah.
take that back. Take that
He
back.
didn't-
We're friends here.
he
We are
didn't-
friends
he
here,
didn't
Howard.
attack. He did
Take
not
that
attack.
back, Howard.
You know what?
You have
I'm looking at.
disrespected
Yeah,
Andreed
no.
and you've disrespected
I know
Casper
you
Ruud.
disrespected
Okay?
the Casper, but no, I'm responding to Karen in the chat. He said he felt like he could take Djokovic legs. Never.
Yeah,
Do
I
not
thought
buy
that too. I thought
into
that-
the
That
exhaustion
can't be your game
narrative.
plan. That can't be
Exactly.
your
I
game
think
plan.
the only thing that could possibly make sense here is if he was trying to maybe I'm gonna destroy this match.
No,
Like,
he said he was trying to take Djokovic's legs. I heard
But
him
that
say
don't
that.
even make any sense.
Well, it doesn't make sense
And
given
he-
who Djokovic had been.
I said to Maya, what does he think he is? A 20-fucking-year-old Rafa? Like, this isn't working. This will never work. Never. I don't give a fuck if he's 36.
Well, yeah, and we talked about that in the chat while we were watching the match. Was
Yeah,
that
it was just like that could be he was making so many bad decisions. I was like, maybe you're doing the whole rope a dope. Let him take the first 2 sets, and then I'm gonna show you
Why?
for the
No.
next 3 sets. and I'm gonna leave you out here. I'm gonna have them take a wheelchair because my plan out here is to put you into retirement. But I was just like,
Well,
even that doesn't even make any
yeah, and
sense
it
because
reals
it's
at some
Nole.
point you're not. At
Like,
some point
do
you're
that
not
to
wrong.
Jack Sock.
But
I
at
mean,
some
do
point
that
you're
to-
not wrong, right?
What do you
At
mean?
some point you have to say, um, 36. I mean, that's the reason why I thought that Medvedev was going to beat Nadal in Melbourne. I'm like, 36-year-old legs are still 36-year-old legs, but not the way Novak is conditioned and not the way the match was going. Like
Yeah.
I think he could have gotten away with that if he had gotten the first set.
Yep.
But if he had gotten the first set and then you play a 90-minute second set and then you get that set, then maybe Novak starts to think like, man, I got to play 2 more hours to win this match.
Right.
But he'd already lost
Well,
the first set.
But Novak had already been efficient. See, this is my thing. And I notice that players are like this all the time. And I understand that they want to have a purity mindset. But there's no way you are still buying the I'm exhausted Djokovic.
From
who
Nola.
Exactly. How do you
continues
fall
to
for that
rally.
Oh my
sandbag?
God.
Like, it's fine if he starts tripping over his legs, which he does, or dropping the racket or getting like exhausted. But then he's running back and forth
That's
in a
right.
40-shot rally and not
In
breathing
every
heavy
point.
every
In every
point
point.
thereafter. So
I
you
gotta-
cannot believe that narrative in the middle of it that he's
And he's
old.
not
So-
giving up on any point.
I
Like,
know.
it's not like he's just like, I'm not. You remember in 2000? I mean, we're old. But in 2000, I think it was when Pete Sampras won Wimbledon. I think he was injured. And Pete Sampras said, I'm not going for any ball that I know I don't think I'm going to win that point. So
Yep.
some points, I'm just not even playing. I'm just going to hit it. And if I'm close to it, I get it. If I don't, let it go. So, but he was being efficient. That is never Nole.
Never.
Nole's job is to humiliate the other player.
You mean
It's-
like humiliate, like reaching over the net, coming over the net
No.
when your guy goes
Oh,
down and you
man.
gotta help him
I
up?
know.
Oh
And-
man, Medvedev looked like he was ready to go for a street fight in that moment. Like,
Medvedev's
bitch, get away.
Do not
Uh-uh.
touch me right now.
He
I
gave
love
him
that
the
is
finger
the
wag, boom, boom, go.
But
And
that
he
is
was smiling. Come on, get up.
But that is
Alfredo.
Nole's
Come
point
on.
every single time.
Yeah, at
You
that
know, like,
point,
he-
Nole's out there to embarrass the opponent and demonstrate that I'm going to come back after you take a 2-set lead. I'm going to treat this like it's a fresh new match. And you will not score another break point against my serve. And he's usually pretty damn effective about it. So
Yeah,
I
he
feel
is.
like at this point in time, we all need to stop with the fake. Oh my God,
No,
I
there's
think
only
he's
one
really
way, exactly,
not
Andrea.
doing well. Come on.
Yeah, there's only
Well-
one way that you can look at Novak and say, okay, he's actually gassed, and that's when he's hitting the ball in the middle of the net, or
Yep.
he's spraying the ball long. But he was his shots. In fact, I think they mentioned it on the broadcast, and I got a text from one of my friends who sent me a message that said, "Djokovic injured?" ? And I sent a message back in all caps. Does that man look hurt to you?
I mean,
No.
Derek Edwardson said that, Nole was 37 of 41 points up at net. You are not injured. And this is the thing I don't. I mean, like, you look at Nole match against his opponent, his countryman,
Yeah.
down 2 sets.
No, Laszlo Jerry.
He
Yeah,
looked.
exactly.
He did not look fussed at all.
Nope. He's like, he's
No
gonna
fuss.
win 3 sets, and that's gonna be it.
No fuss. It was, you know what? I think this is my thing with Nole, and I get it. I get it, dude. I feel like Novak has this moment. There are moments when Novak is not fit, and we all know it. We all recognize it. The serve goes. They're just more they're signs, right? We can always tell that. But you've got to be able to recognize the rope-a-dope Novak
Yeah.
and the really done and dusted Novak. Okay.
If you want to see the rope-a-dope Novak, look at today. If you want to see the Novak is in trouble, look at against Stan in 2016.
Yeah, that's a
Stan
different
2016,
conversation.
it was like, oh, he's not coming back in this one. Oh, he's actually getting whooped.
But
Yeah.
I mean, beyond what Novak did today, because really it wasn't anything special. He didn't have to fucking run that
He
much.
didn't even know. He didn't
I-
even have to play
If
hard.
if Medvedev's plan was to try to wear him down, like, you didn't even try to truly execute that. That can't be your plan when you don't even make him run. Hit every fucking ball cross court. And we know you can rip that shit up the line. We maybe saw that shot 4 or 5 times. Like, he just didn't show up.
Look,
and
girl,
that was
I mean,
I'm
do you-
fine
that's
with
a little
Novak
harsh.
winning another. No, it's true. It is so true.
The serve
Medvedev
did not.
just
He did not serve well like he did
he
before
didn't
at all.
serve well. Medvedev moved well, but he had to move too damn much.
I
But
know.
he didn't make Novak move.
No.
So if your game plan is to wear him down, you can't do that if you're gonna fucking hit the ball back right to
I
him
mean,
every
you
time where he only has to take 2 steps to hit it. You can't do that. That was just boring and
Yeah.
dumb.
you
Well,
know
so the
you know what this
final.
sounds like. You know what this sounds like. It sounds like you're laying Ostapenko. I expected more from Coco.
Well,
I
no,
don't.
I
I don't.
I
Janina.
don't
He says
know.
that he didn't play well. What were his numbers? What was Meddy's numbers? Was he
I
just
don't know what the fuck his
exposed?
numbers were. Shit
Because
and
I just
shit.
didn't get the feeling that he served as well. But maybe his numbers held up. Howard usually has the
Well, I
numbers.
mean,
No, he
Novak was
His
didn't.
breaking
numbers.
him.
The,
I mean,
the
Nole
biggest
was breaking
problem.
him at will.
The
I
biggest
No.
mean, let's
problem
be
that I
The
saw
honest.
with
second serve was
Wait.
what let him down. The second serve in the second set, I think he was only winning 33%. We know that matches are won and lost on that second serve percentage. And Medvedev basically didn't have a second serve today.
Yeah, if you want to know how
Yeah.
Novak is going to fare, especially on hard court, clay is a different animal. But on hard court, are you getting into his service games? And the fact that he only faced 3 break points the entire match, he
Yep.
won 53% of his seconds. He won 81% of his first serve points. I mean, you're not going to win this match. You're not even going to come close, especially when you're, this match was so surgically Djokovic that
Yeah.
Djokovic only had 6 break points
Yeah,
as
I
well.
know that.
But he,
And
I
it
know
was
they
really
needed.
funny. Like, did you see the end? He ran up in that crowd. First of all, let me just say, if you've got 24, stop running up into the court. Like, come on. What are you running up in the stands for?
yeah,
I mean,
If he
let's
wanted
just.
to cry with his team and hug
But
his
he
daughter,
didn't
let
even
him have his
cry.
moment.
He was like
He
all
want
rampy, and I was like, "Honey, you acted like you just crossed the desert, dude. Stop it. You just want
Yeah,
a
yeah.
and this is
comfortable
the thing.
match.
This is the thing I don't like.
Stop
I
it."
find that he always thinks that
Yeah.
he has to interject some kind of dramatic
Well, otherwise, those matches are boring as hell.
element to
Though
it.
you
You
need
remember,
it.
I think it's 2012 Australian Open, where
Oh, how did you forget that
like
one?
whenever
Hey
actually,
Dwayne.
I mean, let me take that back. Anytime Nola is in the circumstances of like winning a major or runner up,
Comfortably.
comfortably or whatever, he talks about the injuries. I came back from the brink. Meanwhile, Nola is out here looking bigger and stronger than anybody else on
I was
tour.
just gonna say, well, Maya
This
mentioned
dude
while we
is
were
Yeah, he
watching
big.
the
looks
match.
bitter.
You
He
see
looks
his
bitter.
legs? His
He's
legs are
bigger.
bigger.
He's
He ain't
bigger.
missed a leg day in a minute.
Which is different for a tennis player who's typically they have to be like marathon runners.
Lean. No, he's
They have
gotten
to be
thicker.
lean.
His legs
He
are
has put
bigger.
on
He
some
is far
muscle.
more muscular than he has been in the last few years.
He's
No
eating
doubt.
bread.
But you know what?
He's
Okay.
Listen,
eating bread. He definitely eating
All
he
right.
ain't
bread.
Well,
eating
that's
no
20
damn bread.
minutes. That's 20
Yeah,
minutes
that's too
longer than
much
we
on
needed to
Novak.
be on the final. The
Well, could we
final
just go
was.
one last thing on this though? Is
Yep.
that I mean I think that at least for me watching this, and you were asking earlier, like I don't know if we were live or not, but what do you do? What do you count? How do you look forward now that the big three battle is over and
Yeah.
what is there to look forward to? Well, I think that on the men's side going forward now, obviously Novak is just counting slams. He's just adding to
Yeah.
the
That's
pile.
all you're doing.
But
Yeah.
but I think the most important thing going forward, and that's why I had so much hope for this match, was until you started to get to the quarterfinals, this was a bad tournament.
It still is.
I
Still was
really
on the
didn't
men's
think
side.
that there was. I really
Still was
didn't.
on the men's side.
Well, I mean, but I think until you got to Sinner Zverev, it was like there's no suspense here.
At
So
all.
as of today, when you start counting, how many players are you really counting that you one want to watch and two believe can win? And at this late stage, it's still like two guys.
Mhm.
I mean,
Who
one guy.
this game
Nola
Carlos?
ain't selling
Oh.
tickets.
this
Nola's not
game
selling tickets.
needs Medvedev to like step up.
I mean, it needs Medvedev as much. Well, listen. I mean, the weird thing about it is, listen, Novak was going for 24, y'all. And maybe I'm just not on X anymore. But who remembered that? Like, literally was not a storyline. Like, usually
No
you
one. What
create
you
a
know? What people are going to
storyline
He won three
remember?
majors this year.
No, I know, but usually you're creating a storyline on each side, right? The women's story was killer this year. Lots of things to say over that side. But on the men's side, there was nothing to be said about because there was nothing to be said about Novak. all people were hoping for was that Carlos would meet him in the final. When that didn't happen, there wasn't a story. And there wasn't a story on the entire side, because many of the folks who had been thought they would get the second week, some of the younger kids didn't even make it out of first week.
You had
first round.
Runa, that one that always chokes against Rafa, or just in finals generally.
Casper didn't get out of the first
Casper,
week.
Rude.
It's your friend. Look at the disrespect. The
I know.
disrespect continues.
Casper. Ben Shelton was a story, except for the fact that, we'll talk about Ben
Novak
Shelton.
called and hung up on him.
Yes, let's talk about Ben
shit.
Shelton later. But for me though, honestly, I penciled Novak into the final, and then I just watched everybody else. I was like, well, what are the other people doing? I feel like that's, to my point, that's the thing that I think is happening in the future, Howard. You're like, what's the next step? Pencil Novak into the final, and then watch how all the other players play. The problem with that is that has never been the way that ESPN and anyone else covers the men's tour. And they are not prepared for covering the men's tour.
Well, and they're
the
not
way it
going
is
to.
now.
What they're
It
going to
is
do, as we saw.
empty.
Now, you were at the tournament, so you didn't get as much of the coverage as the rest of us did, because you were actually watching it live. But the approach is to sell this game through the United States on the men's and the women's side. That's the strategy. And the question is that, remember last year at this very time, we had, a few days earlier, we had Francis Tiafoe crying, saying, "I will win this tournament." And then you've got Tommy Paul, you've got Taylor Fritz, you've got Tiafoe, and now you've got Ben Shelton, but you've got 3 of the top 15 players from the United States. And that's how they're going to try to sell this game. But I don't look at any of those 3 as guaranteed late second week players.
Or competitive, or competitive second weekers. Because that's the other thing, right? It's like, it's one thing if you're worrying about the final, but let's talk about the quarterfinals. But
Tiafoe did get there pretty comfortably.
Matches.
But I think, but ESPN covers the majors, and they look at American men like we're at 250 in Tennessee. Let's be 100. Let's be 100.
First of all, what's wrong with Tennessee?
I mean, at no
Lots
point.
of things.
Because here's the thing, though. Here's the problem. Ben Shelton was the one who got to the semis.
Yeah.
Not Tiafoe, not Tommy Paul, not Fritz. Fritz showed up to Nole having not dropped a set.
There's nowhere to be seen.
And
had chances though. Let me tell you something, because that heat was hot. That stadium was hot and roasting, and could not capitalize on any of his breakpoint chances.
I don't want to be an asshole, because I think
but there's a butt attached to this.
But there is a big one. But you see, American players, men particularly, I don't want to hear shit about how it's hot over there. If y'all ain't learned shit from Jack Sock years upon years coming off of that court in a wheelchair, even when there was no roof. If y'all don't get y'all shit together and go train in the Nevada desert or some shit, because y'all ain't winning this shit.
What are y'all training?
Well, let's back up a little bit. Let's back up, because Tiafoe played well. He did not play well against Ben Shelton. I don't really know what happened there. I don't know if he.
Let's talk about that.
I was excited about Ben Shelton. Was a joy to watch start to finish. I'll say that. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed him in singles. I enjoyed him in doubles. I didn't think he had a shot against Novak, but we all know that there's something special against a young up-and-coming player that has nothing to lose. And I was hoping that he started to find his game late, but it was too late. I think that he may be, he hopefully will be one to watch that can stick around. That Tiafoe Shelton match, it was like Tiafoe went away. He didn't know what the fuck to do. He didn't play as good as he'd been playing.
He looked like he ran out of energy.
His game
he just looked, which is weird because that motherfucker is fit.
You see,
he's not heat fit. I don't know.
I'm gonna put a question mark. American men, most of the time, look Instagram fit. You can take a picture and they look cute.
Tiafoe is fit.
No. Listen to me. If you check the record, Tiafoe has just won his. I think it was last year that Teofimo
Yeah,
won
that
his
he won his
first
first fifth set.
five set
Yeah.
match. And typically, Teofimo has a habit of like fighting desperately for the second set, and then eat a bagel and a breadstick in the third or the fifth set. Like this has been a problem. So I don't know if it's not even a fitness and the other part component
I think it's his
to
game. I
this
don't think it's
element.
his fitness.
But also they
Honestly,
don't have their game is predictable. Their game is two-dimensional because one dimension is not a thing. Their game is two-dimensional. There isn't a thing that most American men is not going to do but try to come with a bomb for a serve and try to hit you off with the court with a forehand.
That's right.
Shelton might be different because being a lefty, he gotta come to net. He just gotta like.
well, and he's got a decent net game. But Francis has a
Right.
decent net game too. But he has a wonky game.
Not with that wonky forehand though. See,
I just said it's wonky, but he plays all over the court. But his shots are weird. I mean, they just look funny. And then you get to a player that, technically
I don't know if
is
I'm gonna
better.
agree with there's no fight in him. Like I saw Karen said, listen, there was plenty of fight in him against Rafa. I just think sometimes you're going up against somebody who you've watched a lot and you absolutely want to take them down. I thought the incentive was
Yeah.
there for TFO last
Yeah.
year. I don't know if the incentive was not as strong in the Ben match. Also,
Do you think he underestimated him?
I think
and
listen,
I
think so.
I think Shelton also
so.
stole the crowd from
Yes,
him.
from TFO.
Well, and Chad says that. Listen, Chad said that TFO loss was more mental, and if Chad says it, I'm gonna believe it.
No, I
He's
do
got
think it was
this-
a little bit of
He's
mental
got the inside scoop.
I'm
more
watching
than
that
me.
match and it felt like it was on Ben's racket. Like it
It
felt
did.
like
He
Ben
played
was
really,
taking
really
more
well.
of the risks, was willing to go for his shots, and it felt like TFO got very cautious. Like TFO suddenly realized that he was supposed to be the one to win this match, and
Well, and Ben was hitting him off the court.
I mean, no,
Well,
there
but
were some points where they were
Here's the-
both hitting really well. I just thought that there were these moments where Ben decided, oh well, you know what? I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna
I
go
think
for
I can
this.
do this.
I'm gonna
And
step
Ben
into
already
that.
had the juice, right? Ben took
Yeah.
down Tommy Paul, who was playing really well.
Yeah.
Tommy Paul had to like his chance.
Listen, Tommy Paul was pissed. So let me tell you something.
He
The
sure
T
was.
is they all think Ben's game is, as Real said, two-dimensional, not that
Well-
strong. And I think they were all a little bit salty.
cocky, and they were cocky. They thought they were gonna roll up. This was a let. This was a Sam Stosur in Melbourne. This is a gimme match. Oh, I got Sam in the first round in Melbourne. Oh, I'm gonna be in the second round. No question asked. And
Well, I think
they
mhm.
saw themselves in the second. They saw themselves in the next round. But Ben Shelton said, "Hold up, this
Well,
money. This is the best money I'm gonna get in a long time.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get as much of U.S. Open money as possible." So
And he
Yeah.
played a lot of tennis, and he only continued to get better until he hit that fucking Novak wall.
Well, I
And
think
if he
there's
would have
something
had
else
some
to
more time, he
consider
would have.
Wait, what's the thing? Sorry.
I was just going to say that you also are, when you're looking at a guy like Shelton, the way he plays, he can be streaky because he hits big. I mean, and these are the type of guys you don't necessarily want to play because what happened with Ben Shelton this week was he went completely against what he had been all year, which was he can't return. He's one of the worst returners.
Yeah.
He and Christopher
Yes!
Eubanks are the two worst returners, and he was out there
Yep.
returning serves and blocking serves back and suddenly playing in a way that he hadn't played all year. And I think that the tough thing about watching American players play, and Reels brought this up, and it's a great point, which is why I have no faith in watching these guys play, is because once they get broken, for the most part, that's it. They don't know how
Yeah.
to come back with defense. They don't know how to turn a match
Step
around
in and
without
turn
the big
in.
serve.
and work their way.
Work their way back into the match. Exactly. And so
No,
here's
it's not
Ben Shelton breaking not once but twice in the same set. It's like, who is this guy?
It's not Chris Eubanks shade. It's just that one of the things that we've been noticing is the return game on the men's side is just really bad.
Well, it's a big and it's a
Yeah.
big fear.
It's a big challenge.
Which
for
is
them.
crazy because you see, my thing is that I don't like my chances in a tiebreak. My point is to break you and serve it out. I'll break you for the set. My
Yeah, we don't
chances
want to do a
because big
tiebreak.
big
I'm a-
servers do not fare well in the tiebreaker
Yeah,
because you
because
just
Because
can
you
miss
need to
one.
at
I can make him
least,
play
yeah,
a
you need
point.
to at least return. Well, because
You
I
need
mean,
a
I remember
point.
these.
You need
I
at
need
least
no,
one
you need at
point.
least one point.
Exactly.
Well, because I always remember this about Federer in tie breaks. Because I was like, okay, I'm not right about Federer in a tie break because his serve will come. But in a big server, it's like finally he gets the return in a tie break. You know how many
Exactly.
times he'll be playing these big servers and you're watching him and he gets into the tie break and like he's got you. He
He
knows he's
got
gonna
you.
get
Yep.
one or two of your returns in
Because
play.
Yeah.
they don't have a third ball. Their thing is just like get a big serve in and go for the big swing.
1-2 punch.
One
Okay,
two
can I
punch.
do? Okay, let me do a little confessional. I will
Uh-oh.
say I saw Ben live
Mhm.
at in Washington D.C. sitting down there with Deb Taylor on the chat. We were watching
Mhm.
him, and I saw him play doubles, and I was not convinced. I was like, what? I was like, he was horrible doubles player. I was like, does this kid know how to hit rallies?
He doesn't. He
I
doesn't have.
was no, I really was because I hadn't really sat and watched a full match, and so of course my first sitting down and watching him with a full match was the Tiafoe match, and I was like, first of all, I can see why Federer signed you. Second, like he was coming in. Like I was like, I hadn't seen that sort of all court coverage by him. I didn't see that in DC. Like I didn't
Well,
realize
and
that
you know,
he
you
was
figure though,
someone.
but
Yeah,
he's
I was
had
like,
practice
oh,
since DC, right? So he's
well,
been
yeah,
playing these
but
doubles, and
And also he's playing
he's
to
more
the court.
comfortable.
well, yeah, like he was moving across the court, like, and when he got broken, he was like, no, no worries, boo, I can get back in this. He
Well,
was
You
it'll
know
be
what
really,
Chad
very
just
interesting.
said in the chat? Chad just said Ben was bold, and that's a good way to put it because he was bold this whole tournament. I mean,
There
clearly
is money
he did
on the
what
line.
everybody, you know, and nobody thought he was going to get to the damn
he had
semifinal.
a
Are you kidding me?
he had a slight Carlos vibe, which in the sense that I mean, he's got that energy that Carlos has, which is that it feels like they're not really playing to
They're
lose.
having
They're having
fun,
fun out there.
Hmm.
and
They're
that
like,
matters.
you know what I mean? Something weird. Like it,
Medvedev
but
did not have fun
no,
today.
no. Carlos was. I mean, like obviously Carlos is more effective, right? But there was a similarity in terms of their ability to forget their mistakes on the
Yeah,
court.
I'm playing each point. I'm
Each
playing each
point.
point.
He was going
Short-term
big.
memory.
Yeah,
Short-term
right.
memory.
And
You
his dad,
can't
I
live
was
in the
watching
moment.
his dad, and his dad was laughing the whole time. His dad probably told him, "Honey, you're out here to learn. Go big or go home." Like
Exactly.
Yeah.
that was,
And you
that
win,
was-
you make
Well,
tons of money.
well,
You're
and
not doing this
also
for free.
and also there's a moment in every match as you continue because remember, I mean, he's really just now getting on tour,
yeah,
so
it's
he's
his
starting
first
to
year.
learn. And there's a moment in each match where you go, wait a minute. I can hurt this guy, but he can't hurt me.
Yeah.
And I'm hurt,
Yeah.
and I'm hurting a lot of these guys. And so I can actually
Yeah.
bring it in a way that they can't. And that's how you begin to know whether or not you can play at this level at a high level or whether you're constantly going to be up against it. And I
Yeah.
think that for Shelton, this tournament sort of told him, at least on hard court,
Yep.
I'm not
I can do
afraid of
this.
anybody here, really.
Yeah,
until we got to
I
know
can do
that.
this.
Fake the
Listen,
funk,
I
bro.
thought he was complete joy. I
Yeah,
enjoyed
he was
him
a lot
so
of
much.
fun,
He was fun
especially
to
on the men's
watch.
side because there are no fun guys over there.
Oh
Whew.
Nope.
yeah, and let me tell you, I want him and Taylor Townsend to play doubles forever. I loved
Well, that
that.
was the other thing, Janina. Can I just interrupt for one quick second there in terms of the coverage? Is that in addition to having having ESPN just completely go full American, it also did something that we haven't seen in a very long time in coverage. They were showing doubles and they were showing mixed because the Americans were playing together.
Yeah,
Ah.
we saw a lot of doubles this
Ooh, that's
tournament
gonna
that we would
happen
not
next year
normally
because it's
see.
an Olympic
Oh, it's
prep
an
year.
Olympic year, so people trying to
Yep.
get their spot together.
All
Yeah.
right, let's
And
do
the
it.
fact that
Taylor
you got
and
to see
Ben
when
were
they showed
so
the Taylor,
fun.
yeah, they showed the Taylor Townsend Leila Fernandez doubles match, and they showed that match over, I think, where Vrinka was playing
Yep.
Sinner. They
Okay,
Yep.
can
showed
I
that
ask
match.
you purely?
Oh, you see, I don't even get this because you see, I watch tennis on ESPN Plus.
Yes,
So
you're
there
watching
isn't a
online.
sing- So there isn't a single court that I don't get
But you're
to
not
see.
exactly. But on the
I
main
don't
You got
channel,
to
know.
they
pick
The
and
showed
main
choose.
channel.
Yeah, I
showed
get to pick
women's
and
doubles
choose.
on the main channel over a top 10
Yeah.
player.
Yep, on the cable
Listen,
channel.
was it a top 10 male player? Because they knew what side their bread was butter
It
on.
was
'cause
Yannick Sinner.
yeah, that match was
Center.
hell.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I
can we?
mean, it was
So
Vavrinka,
let me
but-
ask you all. Let's
Mhm.
be fair here. Who do you think has the best upside from Sheldon to TFO?
What about Paul and Fritz? Are we talking
No.
all
We're
not
about them, or
talking
just
about
those
Paul.
two?
No,
No.
no,
I
no,
mean,
no, no.
we're talking
no.
about the two. We're talking about the two black boys right now. We can go back to the other two, but I'm just.
I thought you were just talking Americans. I'm sorry.
No, we're talking
I
about the
feel like
because
this.
I'm dealing
Listen.
with Chad. Chad was feeling it. Chad was feeling it.
Well,
Seeing poor.
This is
I
this
could,
is
I,
what
I could
how I
smell
see
that
it.
Chad. I could smell that Chad is not feeling Benjamin. He's
Right
Well,
not.
you
now.
know
Of
where
course
I'm
not.
going with this.
He's not
He
on the
seemed
Shelton
he's
train.
so this is my answer to you, Andreen, is I like TFO. I've been a fan. I have been waiting for him for a long time, and I'm not seeing him progress. So I'm excited to still watch him, but I'm more excited in this moment right now to see somebody else, young American, black.
Is that recency bias though? Because he had a big tournament. Because Ben Shelton had a terrible summer.
Yeah.
I've never
No.
watched Ben until this tournament. Full
He did
disclosure. I've heard
back-to-back
his
matches
name.
all summer.
Yeah, I know, I heard that, but I never watched him. But I'm saying right from watching this tournament, seeing how he performed, he did things that people did not expect him to do. Nobody expected him to get so deep. Nobody did. In singles or doubles, and he did really well. So, has TFO ever been in a semifinal of a Grand Slam?
Yes.
Last year.
Where?
Last year.
Where?
That's why you
Australia?
should
Last
care
year he
about
lost.
Last
He
year.
lost to
Oh.
Alcaraz.
That's how we
Oh,
beat. Yeah.
I
he
don't
bet
see.
Rafa to
I
get
don't
there.
even remember him.
That was his breakthrough.
Well,
No.
it's been
He
a
got
long
he
That's
got
time
why
Auntie
he
coming.
Anita
fell out of the
Baker.
top 10 by losing to Shelton.
He's
Yeah.
not. I don't know. He just. I don't feel like. I feel like I'm always waiting for him, and it's not happening.
Well, you have
He's been on tour
unrealistic
for quite some
expectations.
time. Do
Okay.
I?
How old is he?
Because he's been on tour for how long? Over
No,
10 years.
listen. To be
No,
honest,
he has
I
not.
will say that TFO has
Are you
performed.
sure?
Listen,
Let's-
TFO has
let's go to
performed
the
way
videotape.
better than people had expected TFO to perform. They did
Yes,
not
but
see
I want
TFO
him to
as
be
a
even
perennial
better.
top
I want.
tenner. No,
How old
people
is
were not
he?
assuming that TFO would ever get to the top 10. They said he was a perennial top 20. And
How
he
how
has
old is TFO?
definitely
He's
Chad.
25 years old.
yeah.
Yes.
Isn't that on average a good time for people?
He's
How
25
people
I
years
guess.
old.
True. That
You
is
know,
true.
but when you
I'm
break
sorry.
in on
I'm
the
sorry.
scene when you're young,
I've
Yes.
seen him.
it
He
feels
played.
like
He
he's been
played the
here a
next
long
gen.
time.
He's
Yeah.
played next gen, so he is young.
Okay, let's break down Tiafo real quick. I'm going to answer that question, Andreen, simply by saying I think that Shelton has the bigger upside for one reason, and that is I think he's got better strokes. But when you start getting into the altitude, and right now Francis Tiafo is in altitude. He's a top 10 player, and the expectation now is semifinals, right? The expectation is he's supposed to win 4 or 5 titles a year. He's got 3 career titles. So once you start hitting the space that he's in right now, he's not a Cinderella story anymore. And so now that the expectation is quarterfinals and beyond, his strokes just break down. He's got the ugliest strokes in the game. He's got that shovel backhand. He's got that wonky forehand. He's got that weird sort of slice volley where he's going against his body.
He's
And
like
I
trying to
think that-
slice the ball, like literally slice the ball
So
in half.
now when you're starting to get to, can you win with his strokes? Yeah, you can get to the second week. You can get to the round of 16. You can get to the quarters. But he's in Andrei Rublev category, which is now that you're in this space, can your game get you to where Janina expects you to
Previously
be? And
occupied by Thomas Burdage and David
That's
Ferrer.
right.
Let us
And-
not
well,
drag.
that's right.
There you go.
I hate
Well,
the
there you
disrespect.
go.
I hate
But
the
Reels,
disrespect
that's exactly
on
the
Rublev.
point, right? Reels,
I
that's
don't
the
like how they
point.
be treating Rublev, okay? Because Rublev have enough blood pressure situation on himself. You don't need a.
Rublev is a
iota
goddamn
of pressure.
vampire, and I
He's
think that
great,
he may
though.
have bitten Zverev. Did you see how he looked?
He has clearly bitten somebody. I mean, and when you watch
Probably
him,
bitten himself.
we
No,
know
he
he's
bit
punished
Zverev.
himself. We know
Listen,
he has punished
Zverev
himself
looked like he
multiple
was the
times.
Walking Dead
Right?
after that fucking match. With Sinner.
But-
He
but-
looked dead.
Yeah.
He looked dead.
But Tiafo is at that point right now, and that's you're 25 years old, you're a top 10 player, you're going to fall back because you didn't defend your semifinal points.
Well,
But
he was very disappointed in himself because
and
I
he
think
knew it,
he
and he
said
knew
that.
it because
But
He
you
said
see,
that
this is
he's
the thing.
expected
But this
of
is what I
himself.
don't like about American men. I find that they do this for a long time now.
Reels, we're not talking about your dating life. How did that get in here?
Wow. I was trying to Howard, get her, Howard. I
No,
mean,
I was just kidding.
God, damn.
Go ahead.
But no, I'm simply saying that American men tend to be mediocre, if middling, for the much of the year, and think that the U.S. Open is going to be the Cinderella story, and they're not even going to win it.
No, I
They're
well,
mean,
just
I
and
trying
and
to
and,
get
and
some.
why
no,
and
I
Reels,
mean
why is that?
his breakthrough came
Novak.
in Australia. So
Well, but
I
No,
just
but I mean, like, there are other opportunities for them. I mean, there's Tennessee. I mean,
what,
but
listen,
it's
stop it.
Tennessee.
Listen,
but there are a bunch of European tournaments that I think they
yeah,
could be making some
Well,
name for themselves.
Reels,
no,
hang on a quick second on that too, right? Like number one, there are three things about American players that we have found and they have not overcome it. Number one, big serve, big forehand, can't return. Number
yeah,
two,
the can't return is the killer.
barely ever win tournaments outside of the United States.
Mhm.
And number three, unless you're a Sam Querrey or an Isner and probably a Ben Shelton, right? You're not going
Don't
to
be
be.
putting Ben in with Quizner and
Oh,
Well, I'm
wait, wait,
putting
wait,
him
wait,
in.
wait, wait.
I'm
Before
putting.
Chad is saying y'all better stop with the TFO slander because he won
No,
a
I'm
clay
not
court
doing
and
any.
a
Listen,
grass
I'm
title
not
this
even a
year.
huge
Yes,
TFO
he won
fan,
a.
but I'm not going to do a TFO slander because I
Well, I'm
actually
not.
think that TFO has played above his pay grade for what many people expected, and has actually maintained quite well throughout the year.
Well, it's
The
not. It's not
problem was
Tiafo slander.
this.
You're asking
No,
a
no, no,
question
no, no,
about
no, no.
his
I'm
next
not.
level,
No, no, no. I'm
and
just saying, yeah. I was just saying, like, yeah. I'm not saying. I don't think we're trashing TFO. I think we're just analyzing him within the the context of how
yeah.
far could he go. I think he has done really well for the last year. He maintained very well. He had some wonderful wins last year, and actually, I think for him, he's pretty gutted because he thought that he was a semifinal slam person. Like I think that's what his expectation was for himself this year, was to comfortably get to quarterfinals and
And he
semis.
did
He
have a
said that.
comfortable tournament. He did
He
not.
said that. Yeah.
He did everything he was supposed to do until the money was on the table, and that was like now. And that's the whole point with a player like him, which is now that you can count on the quarters, and I think
Yep.
he can.
I think he can.
Can you count on? Can your game get you more?
The next place.
And I don't. And I
We'll
don't know
see.
that. I don't know
And
I
that
think his
then
answer.
game he needs to
then the
improve the
tricky
game.
thing was in this
He was
moment against a newbie, it
and a
proved not
friend.
to be, and a friend.
Yeah,
Well,
and
are they
he
friends?
couldn't.
Calling, hanging
Yes.
up on each other? No, I'm
Yes.
just kidding.
No,
Um,
they're friends.
no, no, no. I'm teasing. But I felt like no, there were moments when I was watching Ben and I was like, there's some there's some TFO elements here, like how TFO sometimes flies across the court and is really creative and goes after his shots. Like Ben was doing that more than TFO was.
You
He
know who
he
Ben
out
really?
TFO
You
TFO.
know. You know who Ben is actually very similar to in terms of the way he's played, and we'll see if he overcomes it going forward. Is Madison Keys? He's a big power
Ooh.
guy, and
Oh God, don't do that.
well, I'm saying was that when he struggled all summer, he was smashing the ball all over the court,
Yeah,
and
I can
and
see
this
that.
and you can see that because he's so in love with that power.
Yep.
I mean, when he's on, he's crazy good, like Madison Keys, and when he's not,
I
No
hope
mid
he
game.
stops
loses all
because you know
summer.
what happens. You know what happens.
No mid game. Who's
The
Ben's
shoulder,
coach?
the
Is that his
shoulder,
dad?
Yeah.
the shoulder cannot
Okay.
carry
Uh-huh.
that kind of game.
You see, it was
The
already getting cupped.
Okay, let's talk about the match that I saw
Okay,
live and was dying. Let's talk about the Sinner and Zverev match and what can Sinner do to get over these heartbreak losses, and does Sinner have an upside still or no?
Sinner has
That's a
an
great
upside
question.
because he can still learn how to play at the fucking net, which he has not yet done.
You need to get Darren Cahill on this pod.
Shit. Can we please? I
Look.
got some things to say.
I'm gonna say this and about in men in general, and I guess we can include Rublev and Sinner and Tiafoe. What I don't understand about these guys who are in the top 10, besides I would say Alcaraz, Medvedev, Asterisk, and Novak at this point, is that I don't see these guys, most of these guys on tour. They have been playing for several months, a year, and they realize they get notes. You can't do this. This needs to be better, whatever. Because Nole is the person to beat Nole and to beat Alcaraz. You have to have everything in the book. You have to have all the shots in the book. You have to have your backhand work and your forehand, your serve, net game, because they're asking everything, any and everything of you. But I don't see these guys improving. I see these guys just playing the same shit. We're going to stay at the back of the court and we're going to try to out hit you and come up with winners. Again, it just seemed like they're going for the Instagram shot. Like, I'm going to get a clip on ESPN. I'm going to get a clip on Instagram Reels or something. Like, I don't see them trying to develop their game. Sinner doesn't look any different this year than he looked last year.
Yeah.
That's not true.
Yeah.
I mean,
Not true.
He's probably gotten a little bit better at net, but I think that's probably forced upon him because he just think I'm losing too much point. But I don't. I'm
gonna be honest, because I've been a Sinner fan for a while. He's gotten exponentially better at the net, but he's so fucking bad, it still ain't nowhere close to good. He's got a long way to go. That is the truth. That is the truth. He is fitter. He is much, much, much better at net, but he truly, truly, truly has a long, long way to go.
You know who was
that
better
is
at
what's
net?
lacking in his game.
Sasha. Who told Sasha that he should start coming into the net?
Well, he's
mellow. Mellow.
What was he, 16 of 17 at the net in that Sinner match?
I don't know.
No, it was good.
Nole is planning to play. Even Isevich could say whatever he wants to say.
Of course, Nole can play to 2028. Next year, Nole's arm could fall off. I mean, these are the things that happen to Nole. We should all have plans. No, I mean, I was looking at the top guys because wasn't Sinner was on the table as a possible finalist, right?
Tony said that he got a Gucci bag. Like how? How am I penciling Sinner into the finals? Like what, Matt? Like it's like listen to me.
It was about the draw. I mean, theoretically, listen. It's about, to your point, it's about matchups. Sinner matches up really nicely against Carlos. So at the time, people were like, okay, they were penciling him into that quarterfinal because that's what they wanted. They wanted that match.
Well, I also
just like they penciled.
They also did it
Carlos
based on
into the final.
his ranking. Here's the thing about Sinner. To me, at least, I actually thought that the hype around him was justified for a couple of reasons, and he's very much improved. If you're going to be a Grand Slam champion, with the exception of Wimbledon, because the grass is a little bit different, you have to break serve around 30%, unless you're Roger Federer. You've got to break serve around 30, 31, 32%. That's what they do, right? Because which is why the American players don't have a chance against these guys because they're not putting enough pressure on return. And Sinner was over 30% this year, and he was holding at 86%. It was like, okay, he's actually improving to the point where he can get into a Djokovic service game. He can start to play at a level where, he doesn't have to, he's not going to win all of his games and get one break. He can get multiple breaks and get off the court, right? Mm-hmm. He did that 5-set deal with Alcaraz in a classic match last year. But to Reels' point, I think what you're saying, Reels, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that we're waiting to see that year that you have where you win 65 matches and you win 7 or 8 titles. When you see the way you see it with the breakout players, where they literally break out. They don't break out for one tournament; they break out for the whole year.
They don't do that anymore. I was going
to say, and that's the thing, is that to this new generation of player, maybe they're not going to be, because then you got to play 75 matches to do that.
Right.
I was realizing that, because I was thinking about that even with let's not even talk about that poor Canadian boy that is just having the worst year.
Felix.
Go ahead. Because I was just thinking, like, there were moments, and we all can think about the top guys and know that they've actually made us lazy, right? So there were Rafa moments, there are Fed moments, there are Nole. You remember those matches when you watch them and they completely take control of the match and it's over in a blink of an eye.
Yep.
Yeah.
None of these kids have ever done a match like that.
Because I don't think they read the game well. Because you could see when Nole, Federer, and Djokovic are out there.
And they dial into what the opponent is doing, and they make a decision.
Well, they're taking notes.
Which by the way,
they're taking notes at the beginning.
Which by the way, we saw
for the player.
We saw yesterday. We saw a player yesterday take the match over.
Yes, that was the Coco moment.
It was her moment. I couldn't
struggle in the match.
Before we go there, though, I just want to say I think there is a man a younger man who can do that.
Who's
And I
that?
think that is Sasha. We have to remember that he is on a comeback from a really
Mhm.
serious injury.
No, he's
But
better than he
he
can be. Yeah, he's better than
he
most of the boys left,
but
unfortunately.
he has that ability to take over and to switch a gear and be like, I'm doing this. We haven't seen it too much since he's come back from that horrible ankle deal, but
Although I have
he
to
is that
tell you, because I'm a Sasha stan, and I know it's horrible that I am. He does not give a fuck. So Sasha, whatever was going on before, where Sasha had decided that he was trying to be a nice guy, he hasn't decided to be that
He's
anymore.
gone heel turn.
No, no. Mm-mm. He believes in himself in a way that is kind of fright,
cocky.
Well, I
like
liked
not
the
even
interview.
cocky, but
I
frightening. Like
I
he,
liked the interview that he gave where he said, "Why
yep,
is everybody talking about Alcaraz?"
yep.
Hmm.
I thought that was important.
No, he
But
wasn't
that's
ready for this
always been
year.
that's
But
always been who he is,
But
though.
he said
It
that when
really
he took
is.
him out at the French. He was like, "I'm gonna win that match." So, like, yes, I think that Sasha is actually in a good position to be a challenge for Djokovic.
Hmm.
I think this
He
was like a
plays him hard,
plays him hard, and
always.
yep,
He
and
wins
And he's
sometimes.
well,
he's fitter than he
and
has
he's
been.
fixed his serve, which is the thing that you
Yes,
had to worry
he
about with
was
him. Was
getting
that
3 points this year.
Well,
when
I'm
was
gonna
the
tell you
serve going to
what.
go off?
He better fix that fucking hair.
Okay, I don't know what that bet is, but that bet says you gonna look like shit with your
That hair
hair.
is looking. That's a dish. You know, Maria used to have a distressed ponytail. He has a distressed mom. That
I
shit
will
look
tell you though,
He
having
looks
fried
bad,
and
man.
dyed. You know what I
okay,
mean?
guys, I will
That shit look
say,
like somebody put perm, like relax,
yeah,
no like
yeah,
relaxer on
it's not
Jerry
good.
curl.
It's not good. But I
Dude,
will say this: I really enjoyed having gone there live. The match between him and Grigor was some of the
Yeah.
best tennis.
yes, yes,
Some
Mhm.
of
yes,
the best
yes.
tennis I have.
On
All
television, it
court
was
That was
very
a
tennis,
nice.
fun match.
On
super
television, it
fun.
was
The
nice for 2 sets.
atmosphere was
2 sets.
ridiculous. I mean, and also, but the thing happened to Grigor that always happens to Grigor.
His body left him.
Grigors.
The body said, "No
Body
mas."
said, "Look,
Nope.
man,
Yeah.
what are you
He's
doing to
getting
me?"
old though too, guys.
You know,
But
He's
I
had
I
his
remember
think
little
that.
I think of
resurgence this
Griggle as
summer.
having, you know, like in Super Mario Brothers, you have an invincible star. You have like 60 seconds of like
And you're just
invincible power.
invisible.
You
Then.
eat the mushroom.
Yeah, like he like, but it
He
wears
gets
off
bigger.
because
Okay,
you know
so
because honestly,
yeah,
Sasha was on that. Sasha was like, if Sasha had dropped the second set, Sasha was gonna fight Grigor.
it was gonna be a fight.
He
Yeah,
was gonna jump over that net and be like, "Fucker, you are not doing things according
the
to plan. What the
slice
fuck is
was
this?"
killing Sasha,
Listen
y'all.
to me,
The knee bend Sasha had to do in that match. Oh my, he hated
Grigor.
him so
But you
much.
know what?
Grigor was
Grigor
hitting every shot
plays
in the book. Grigor was
Grigor
getting
plays
lucky.
such pretty tennis though. It
So
was a
good.
joy to watch.
It was a beautiful tennis to watch live because literally it was not the mind-numbing thing we just saw, and it
Yeah.
wasn't even the Sinner Sasha match, which was a lot of the same rallies over and over. I mean, it was all court tennis, lightning fast, just really fun to watch live. And my little Federer fan heart had a little bit of a beat because I was like,
But
oh
you
my
know, I
God.
gotta say, but Grigor,
Oh.
I wouldn't have done that in front of my mother. Mm-mm.
No, then his back seized up. He had chances in the second set tiebreak.
First of all, he had chances to take the set before we even got to a tiebreak.
Well, no,
he
no,
shouldn't
no.
have
Oh,
been in a
God.
tiebreak.
Yeah, because he was up a break.
He was
Early
up
break.
a break.
Yeah, that's true. But I will always love that match because it was one of the more enjoyable match,
The
and it was on
first 2 sets,
Armstrong,
sexy
and we
tennis,
can
sexy
actually
tennis.
see it. It wasn't that crappy Ash Stadium vibe that we were getting. But it was very good. So from what you all are saying, I'm going to conclude, and then we're going to come back around to the sad FAA. I'm going to conclude that you all think that Sasha needs to get in the game because he's the only one that might be competitive with Djokovic.
I think Carlos has a chance as well, but Carlos might have a body issue too because he doesn't always hold up week to week.
I think Carlos has tactics issues. To be honest, I think that his game got a little stale this summer, and that made him have to stay out on the court a little longer. It's like, okay, we know the drop shot's coming now, Carlos.
Yep,
and
he got predictable.
He got really predictable, and I think it cost him in terms of time on court. And it
we need to work that serve Juan Carlos Ferrero. We need to get that.
I think that Carlos is the real deal.
Oh, for sure. Totally.
Absolutely.
I think he's here to stay at the top, no doubt, unless he gets injured crazy.
But I don't
He-
like him. I'll just say that out loud.
Why not?
That's okay.
I don't have any feelings for him. Like I like him beating people that I don't care about, but I can't. I don't get excited when
You
I
don't
see
get behind him.
him. No, I
You're
feel
not
I'm
Team
liking
Carlos.
him. I'm liking him. I think he's fun to watch. I really do.
Enjoyed.
I think
And I
he's a
think
lot
that
of
he
fun.
enjoys his tennis, which is
Yes,
one of the
I know
few
you
times
two
I
do.
see one
We
of
fight about it, y'all.
the
two of them
men
going off
hardcore.
Carlos.
Yeah,
and
no.
Howard
And I've
loves
been watching
Carlos,
Carlos when
and I'm
since
like,
Carlos was a baby, you know.
I didn't
So-
know you weren't Team Carlos, Andrew. And I
you
thought,
know what?
this is
She's not Team
kind of news to
Espana.
me.
She's not Team Espana. That's just
Well,
it.
let me see.
That's just
Well,
it.
there's
No
only
habla
one
España.
Spanish player I've ever loved, and that was Juan Carlos Ferrero. So I should like him. So I appreciate him bringing Juan Carlos for our viewing.
And
pleasure.
David Ferrer in the box this tournament.
Girl, no.
Oh, was
no.
David
Was
Ferrero
he?
there?
He sure was.
I missed that.
Yes, and he's been there. I think he's been there all for the 2 weeks.
Is he part of
Yeah.
the coaching team, or was he just checking out the tennis?
He had a credential, and he was in the box credential.
No, I appreciate Carlos's presence on the tour. He keeps Nole humble, and I like that for our
Well, we
viewing
need- we
pleasure.
need
and for
that.
that, we need somebody to silently, do that.
Anyway,
I
we
think
spent
maybe
a whole
Carlos is
hour on the
having-
men. That's no
Yeah,
point for
but
this.
let me just say, I think Carlos maybe because in the chat,
He's
I'm
flat this
seeing
year.
Deb said, he's not looked sharp since Wimbledon. Maya agrees. I think he's having a little bit of a letdown. Wimbledon
don't
was
think he-
huge.
But Carlos
And
doesn't.
he looks a little
sustain.
tired, honestly.
Carlos-
Carlos doesn't.
Let's
Carlos
just call a spade a
goes to
spade.
stretches.
Carlos is having the same problem that his quote unquote predecessor ever had. His body falls apart midway through
Yeah.
the year. It
Well,
always does, right? It's
Yeah.
not sustainable
Yeah, he doesn't.
for
He
a
doesn't
long
think.
time. His body usually Rafa's body usually fell apart in the fall.
Yep.
Same thing. You give it your haul. The clay season takes a lot out of you. I think Carlos went further at the Wimbledon than he expected. Then he went. He should not have played both Cincy and Canada. With
Toronto,
these
yeah.
balls, we need to stop doing that. You need to pick one or the other.
Pick
Which
one.
sister
Yeah.
pass? Stefanos? But Derek, please. You
I
better
was hoping
stop
you
that.
didn't see
could.
that.
You know
He
what?
could if you
I'm
break
glad-
up.
You know what? I would
What's about-
like to throw one just quick speed round.
Who?
Because the one thing that hit me during this tournament, and Tsitsipas brought it up, was how many guys in the top 10 do you still see on the upswing? Like I'm looking at Tsitsipas, and I was like, "Are you a
He's
second week
flatlining.
contender anymore?"
Flatline. He needs something
What's his
totally
rank-
new. He needs
what's his
something
ranking
was a
right
seven-
now?
He was the 7th seed,
Oh.
and so
Yeah.
you
So
know,
he should have been second week material.
absolutely.
I mean, you know what? I don't think that everything is done for Tsitsipas or Tsitsipas. I think his problem is he just needs I think he needs a better team behind him. I
Or
honestly
maybe
do.
Novak- more
Novak,
dimension
maybe
to that
Novak
game.
broke him too
No,
by
it's
having
not
a
about no
2-set to lead.
dimension. Tsitsipas had a good.
He
has a
needs
good
more.
game.
Tsitsipas has a
He
good
needs-
game.
He needs
Except
more
that
dimension to
shank
his
backhand.
game. He needs more dimension to the game. That backhand is looking like Federer.
No, what he needs. Listen, it's backhand looking like Federer, but he doesn't use it like Federer. What he needs is someone to help him hit over on that backhand, like
First
that
of all,
guy did for Stan. So he just
Barbosa
needs
is
better coaching.
Kieran, Barbosa is not a Delilah. She's not sapping any energy. They are in an
Well, she's
Instagram
sapping
relationship.
both. They're both sapping something from each other.
Yeah.
All right,
Zap
let's talk
up.
about the ladies. Let's move on.
Well, okay, but
Let's talk
before
about
we
the
go,
fun
can
part.
we do a funeral march for what's going on with FAA? Everyone, please, who's paid attention to him more?
I'm
I
telling
Well,
will
how
you,
can you pay
say-
attention to him? He
it's
just
that
keeps
damn
losing.
documentary. That damn documentary got these boys.
Break
Look,
point curse.
none
Right.
of those
Something.
people have prospered. Not one. Name me a player.
Berrettini out.
Fritz.
Zachary out.
Fritz.
Fritz. Well, Fritz is
Fritz.
still.
Fritz is doing well post the
Uh,
documentary.
Is he? Is
No.
he
Yes.
though?
Well, he got
Is
to,
it-
he got to
But
the
because
second
his
week. pretty
girlfriend
much
got the
untroubled.
feature, not him, in New York Times.
No, but honestly, guys, anyone who's seen FAA, like, is there something going on behind the scenes that we just don't know? Like, is there
Chad.
something happening? Like, he's
Paging Chad.
literally like flat. Like nothing.
He
is
looks
happening.
like he ain't never fucking played tennis before.
Like what's
Yeah.
going
He
on?
needs to string some wins together. We know this, Chad. He used to do that. Why is he not doing that now is the question.
Well, can we actually say that? I mean, I think that the one thing we've
He
known
had a
about
great end of last year, Howard.
he had a great end of last year, and it looked like he had finally gotten over the hump because he had gone 0-7, 0-8 in finals,
Yes.
but he was getting to those finals, which is
Yep.
something. I think maybe Uncle Tony didn't do him any favors. He hasn't really recovered from the French of last year.
I didn't think so either. I saw that break point, and I still hate Uncle Tony.
Right.
That was not good.
I will say this about FAA. He strikes me as this modern player, and I'm just going to say this modern player, they're all kind of looking the same. If you look at Fritz, 6'4.5", 6'5", Sinner, 6'4", FAA, 6'4", that height, that type of player, not quite in the 6'2", 6'3", Federer, Nadal, Murray range, but getting a little higher, but not quite Isner and Medvedev, that type of player, their returns go off, their forehands go off, and it's just that size of player. I don't think he's really figured out. I think his game has flatlined. He's a big serve, big forehand guy. He's not an all-court guy. He can't stay completely behind the baseline. And I just don't think he knows what his game is now that people have sort of figured out what he's going to bring. He hasn't he hasn't added that next layer yet.
Plus, he also think he seems flat in general.
And and also he doesn't seem like a happy tennis player.
No, not at all. He seems miserable on court.
But the other thing I would say, and I think it goes back to a point I was trying to make when it comes to when we're talking about fitness with Tiafoe, I think these guys are fit to defend, but they're not fit to be offensive. They just use their fitness to basically run down balls and whatever, but they're not using their fitness as a component to their game, to add to their game in terms of be offensive, to switch from defense and do something offensively, which again, the top players have to be able to do, the top consistent players, to be consistent and to win those kind of crazy points, both on the men and the women's side. You have to move from defense to offense.
You sure do.
You have to be able to do that.
The thing I keep thinking about with FAA, is I remember when he was on that really nice run at Wimbledon, and then he encountered Kyrgios. And Kyrgios said later on that he knew he could switch it up in the middle of that match and take control of that match, because at the end of the day, he thought that FAA was pretty predictable. And it was so true.
No,
and it's still true.
You know what else it is too? It goes back to the larger point that we've been making on these shows and in our chats for the last few years, which is, and it brings us back to Djokovic. You need something to chase. What is going to drive you? And I actually thought it was going to be Alcaraz. I thought that Alcaraz was going to be the guy when you're looking at this 19, 20-year-old who's running by everybody, and it's going to force you to be a better player. It's going to make you decide if you want it. The question that I have with all players in all the sports that I cover now is it is harder today to be a great player than ever before, because you are going to get the endorsements of a great player. You're going to get the visibility of a great player. You're going to get the hype of a great player without actually having to be a great player.
Okay, can I tell you? I also think it's the idea that Carlos and Djokovic are aspirational is a bit of a setup. I don't think everyone treats Alcaraz like he's an unusual animal. Nobody says, "Oh, I want to do what he does." They go, "Oh, he's a unique." All the players do that. They do that like, "Oh, he's an exception." It doesn't set them on a course to chase him.
No, that's what I'm saying. When I bring up Djokovic injury, what I'm saying is that Novak looked at Rafa and Roger and said, "I'm coming. I need to get them." Who is Carlos saying, "I got to come after"? Who are they? Like, for example, and it was a very awkward thing, and I know we're moving into the women, so I will maybe segue into this. It was a very awkward moment for me when Coco had beaten Ostapenko, and I think it was Ostapenko, and Pam Shriver was like, Naomi Osaka is here in the audience.
Oh, God, that was horrible.
And it was really cringy because I felt, I was like, what's going to happen? Because we love our narratives and we assume that everybody here is tight. And I'm like, are they tight? Because doesn't seem tight to me.
They don't seem tight.
Exactly. But the one thing about it is that when you look at a player like Coco Gauff, it is very, very, very clear, for now at least, that being great is important to her. Like being a really good player. It's not, Naomi Osaka, I want to play tennis so I can buy my mom a house. It was, I want to be really good at this. I want to be in the pantheon. I want to be on track. I want to be part of the Venus Serena legacy, as she said. She's playing for something that I don't know if FAA is playing for this. I don't know what.
But you know what? How can they? This is one of those moments.
Yeah, because that mountain seems insurmountable.
Yeah, this is the difference. I mean, the women's side is open.
nearly
Yeah.
70 majors combined.
How
This
can
is
the,
one
how,
of
but how
well,
can that
listen.
be? How can
No,
that
this
be
is
when
what we said. We said this all
Mm-mm.
along. Men play their position. They always play. Women do not. And
But
that's one of the
Carlos
reasons.
isn't playing his
And
position.
he didn't.
He just beat Novak at Wimbledon.
That's because
Nobody would have bet on that in a million
that's
years.
different.
That's
That's
injury. That's
but
injury.
that's who he is though. But this is what I'm
Yeah.
saying. But men tend to play their position. They're like, oh, he's the number one. I'm gonna. But Novak's number one
Casper
tenure.
without saying it.
No, but Nova's number one tenor is not the thing that is inspiring you. And I know people don't want to hear that, but
It's
that
true.
is not the kind of man that you look at and you say, I want that. What is the thing that he's bringing that is going to inspire you to do the same thing? It doesn't do that.
But I
And
think to Howard's point, what he was just saying, like, you're right, absolutely. There isn't anybody on tour. Everybody gives Novak his props, but he doesn't get that love and admiration from the players, from the crowd, from no one
I mean,
really.
they
But it's
get
not
But
just love and
my
admiration.
point,
It's
hold on,
also
admiration. He gets
but my
admiration.
but my point is, Howard was just saying, like, who are these men gonna chase, right? Because Coco is chasing something and she wants to be something. Well, all y'all just watched this young dude come up and knock out what you supposedly been chasing. So step back, take a look. You don't want to chase Novak, maybe you need to chase Carlos. I don't know. Pick a
Or you're not
person.
even chasing a person though. This is different. Because the one thing, I mean, I think what Federer and Rafa did to the tour was to change their own conceptualization of how to be good on a tour. They professionalized the tour. That's different than chasing, right? Like Coco is trying to get better at her game. And by virtue of that, she's also going to be beating people. You don't see the same sort of level of, I don't say it's not commitment, but it's like, it's not clear to me what the men are chasing, what
well,
they're
but you
trying to do.
my point to that, Indreen, is I agree with all of that, but I would add one thing, which is I don't care what it is. It's got to be something.
Well,
Something.
that's
It's
the
got to,
thing. What is the thing?
what is the thing? It's got to be something to make you, like, for example, I
Step
think
outside.
Novak
The
has
men,
shifted.
but you mean, I
You
think the
know?
men come off in my mind as workers in an office. I'm here to collect a check. I might get a little promotion. I'm here trying to make some money. I want to retire.
Yeah, they're already beaten in the
How-
locker room.
But how
Yeah.
hard? But Reels, let me ask you a question. Like, this is, and I guess we're going to talk about this with Coco as well. But I think this is the existential question of sports, especially in an individual sport like tennis, because you saw yesterday. Here's your check, Coco, for $3.2 million, right?
Hmm.
You have to have a reason for why you're out there. And when Novak says, I play to rewrite the history, he's playing against history, right? When you look at Coco,
I don't know if he's lying. What he's trying to play against is that he's lying.
Yeah.
lying.
This
He's
is
playing for
because
Agata. He's playing Agata.
he's playing Agata.
for something.
I
He's playing
think
angst.
he's playing
He's
angst.
playing to lay,
animating.
but he's playing to lay waste to the history. He wants
But
At
everyone
least
to.
he has an answer.
He
A lot of
thinks
these
he
people
thinks
don't.
he,
They
he
don't even
thinks
have
that
an
he
answer
can
to that
convince
question.
everybody. Let me tell you, Nola is like one of those comic book villains, like Scar in Lion
Whatever the
King.
reason.
Like when he said
But it's
Mufasa,
motivating. It's
But
like
exactly.
you send him crazy. Like if you say Roger or Rafa, he loses his mind.
That's what I'm. But there's
But
a
at least
reason.
it's animating.
Right?
It's
And that's
animating.
his
You
reason.
killed my
Yes.
parents, so I'm going to go into fighting crime. Whatever the reason.
that's not rewriting history. And I think a lot of people can see that and be like, that's not
The
even
fuck it's
interesting.
not. He's destroying every record they set.
Yes,
You
It
know
is,
what?
but-
He isn't
but I
though.
think it's not
it
inspiring to
isn't.
anyone.
It doesn't do anything.
But that's not the. But real.
It doesn't matter. He's still doing it.
Yes,
You don't have
but
to like it. You don't have to
but-
be inspired
Listen,
by
it
it.
has
but the
nothing to
effect,
do
we're
with
speaking
whether
about the
that.
effect.
But I get
Which-
what Riesla is talking about. We're talking about the repercussions of
The
having
effect,
a
yeah.
person that is so flattened the game that it's like not energizing.
No, I don't
But
think
you know
that's
what?
we're talking
I've said
about.
this
Well,
before,
that's what
and y'all,
Riesla and I are
Rich,
talking about.
you guys,
But that wasn't.
let me-
That wasn't the original question. The original question was, how do you see guys on the men's side getting better? And the question is,
but I
what are
don't
they
because I think when
playing
you look at
for?
but when you look at the fact that like Nole isn't getting Nole, I mean, you can expect when Rafa hit 36 and Federer hit 36. Well, Rafa is 36. There was a slight diminishing. You know what I mean? Rafa was only coming for the clay court swing. right? Like he was coming for that,
And
and that's what
Australia. Got to get that one more time.
right. But I mean, like he wasn't succeeding there though.
Nope.
I mean, Rafa's 20, 21, or was it 22, 21? 14 of those are French Open.
22, yeah.
14 of those are French Open. So he was like betting on 3 months in the spring. You know, like that's what he was betting on. And he pushed his body and mind towards that. But I don't think, I mean, like, and to Andrene's point, like she said, you know, like Rafa and Federer sort of professionalized the tour. And I think a lot of people checked out because I think it just wasn't, you know, you're just here to make money.
Well,
Because at this point, the glory and all of that, it didn't even seem, because I mean,
It's
other
owned
people
by
want
one
some
dude.
majors.
Well, but we were on this podcast not too long ago. I don't remember which one it was. And the guy that I brought up was Dominic Thiem, who actually pushed those guys.
Yeah.
And Andreen
his
brought up,
body.
and she said, today's player, I'm going to quote you accurately, today's player isn't going to put their body through that. They're not going to do that anymore. But that's precisely what it takes to beat
But
these
you know
guys.
what? I don't want it to be. This is what I
No.
think. I think the point is for me, and I've been waiting for this. It's just Novak has gotten back to some machine thing, so he's not showing his age. My thing is, you just wait. Not wait Novak. You know, you play, you improve your game, you do what you need to do, you compete with each other, because Novak won't be here forever, and then it starts to get good. Then you have more parity. My
Yeah,
biggest
because
problem is
You
there's
know
no
what?
like I need Nole gone. If
Because
Nole
when
wasn't
Nole is
around,
not in a tournament,
it's
when
a
Nole is
free
not-
for all. The
it's
energy.
much more
But
interesting. Yeah,
listen.
it's different.
Well, that's an
Check this
insult.
out. I've said this before, and
No,
y'all
it's
rip
not-
me
but-
apart.
but
Look,
it's
no,
true.
hold on.
I mean, it's an
But-
insult, but it's also true.
Yeah.
But listen,
What?
you have to consider the possibility that, like Howard just said, you don't have to be a super big star anymore to get the super big money in the endorsements.
Sure.
You have to consider the possibility that there are people on tour who are comfortable where they are
Absolutely.
and not winning. And they
But-
are there to create a good life for them. They
And a
can go
balanced
play
life.
tennis. Yes.
And
because
go have
especially
children and
older
disappear
generation.
and
These
come
people-
back a
I
couple
want
of
us
years.
to-
They're not
I-
hurting for money, and there really might be probably quite a few people who are like, you know what? I don't need to be a Novak, a Roger, a Rafa
I know,
to
give
set
my whole
myself
life.
up
Yeah.
and my family up for generations to come. I
Can-
just got to
mhm.
go out here, hit a ball, be mediocre, win every once in a while, and I'm good.
Yeah,
True,
Janina,
true.
we had this conversation. I think it might have been on the chat, and we were having this and I think Reels was the one who brought it up, who was like, look, we have to look at the modern tennis player differently. We were talking about the women, that retirements aren't retirements anymore. They're going to go away.
No,
They're going to come
right,
back.
They can last longer.
Exactly. They're going to come back. They're going to come as they go. And they're if they're not playing, the fundamental difference between today and yesterday is that yesterday you had to win to earn, and today
You had to
don't.
win.
And today
But
you
I-
don't.
I just want to pull back a little bit because I just want to say, I mean, like in 2023 economy, $3 million is not a lot of money. It really
No, it's
isn't.
not a lot of money, but
It's not a. It
but
seems
when
a lot
you
of money
add
to
that
poor
to the
people.
rest of her earnings, Coco Gauff's going
Right.
to win $15
Yeah.
million this year.
Yes,
Not even
and she
including
has the
endorsements.
potential. She has the potential to
There you
earn
go.
a lot more.
Coco's
because
going to
she
pull
won a
40
major.
million this year total.
Right, but I mean, you know,
40
and
million.
taxes
She's
and-
19 years old.
Yeah,
She's
Shouldn't
going to be
have
a
to play
billion. If
ever
she
again
keeps
the rest
going the
of her
way
life.
she's going right now, she's probably going to be a billionaire in her mid-30s. You know,
Well,
I
yeah.
mean,
All right,
think
let's
about
shift
that.
it up. So on the
but
women,
that might not
so,
mean the same thing, you know.
so let's
No,
move
because-
over because we want to move to the women's side and talk a little bit about that. You all still didn't give me a good answer for FAA, but I'll take it. I'll see if he comes awake at
I think-
live.
I-
I'm just
I- I
kidding.
just
It's
don't-
Canadian bacon. It's Canadian bacon. That's what it is.
I don't think
No, I'm
he's
just kidding.
a well-rounded player. I just
No.
don't think he's special.
Okay, can we talk about is it because he's black? And
What,
he doesn't
Felix?
really, and he hasn't really like connected to the blackness in his game. No, I'm just kidding. That's just a weird.
I
nonsense.
You know,
can't
I've long
with you.
said he
I
doesn't have any
cannot.
juice. I have said he doesn't have
Oh
any
my
juice. Ben
God.
Shelton
Oh, Ron.
has more juice than Felix. And that's all I'm gonna say on
I'm
that.
not being shady about that. It's just like sometimes.
Total
Listen,
shade.
you know why? You know what it is? Because I know. No, I know that sounds weird, right? But no, sometimes when you're in an all-white space, you have to
I
figure
mean,
out how you're going to deal with your identity as a player. And I
They
say
took
this
the
because
blackness right out of me.
no, because I really think there's an interesting thing that's happening with Coco and the way she seems to manage that experience really well. I
Very
wonder about
well.
that with some of the male black players. Like there's a whole subtext there that sometimes they get into, but they don't often talk about it. I remember when I was watching Breakpoint, I really think that there is a thing that I noticed with Felix that he was way too long suffering and really bit his tongue in moments when I thought he should have stood up for himself. And I just wondered whether that wasn't sort of like infused in his
Yeah,
approach to the game.
and what is
Like I don't know.
Canadian and what does Canadian black mean? I don't even know what is that culture? Where
Yeah,
does
I
he
have no
get to
idea
go
what
to
that
go
looks
home?
like.
Yeah, I don't even know if
what
it's
that looks
needed,
like.
but I know sometimes it's like a really grounding thing to get to
Mhm.
feel a sense of home. Like I think Chris Eubank sometimes mentions and talks about that. I think
Francis talks about it
Flo,
all the time.
yeah, Francis talks about it. And I'm sorry, like you are performing at your job for many hours of the day. This is a part of your identity and who you bring to the place and how
Francis
you
talks
show
about
up.
his blackness like he is wearing a crown, and I fucking love it because
Yeah.
But
he brings it up, and nobody has to
add
ask
to
him about
something.
it, and he brings it up.
But I
Well,
would
and
say that
also in that sport.
on the women's side, to Andrine's question, with Coco, what I have noticed, I mean, I might be off about this, but I know what I've noticed in my, I'm trying to calculate here, but most of the black women who I've seen, black ladies I've seen on tour, have remained surrounded by black people.
And they're the winningest player on the American
Well,
side. I'm just saying. You
but
looked at
they
the
that. You
other,
they
looked at
have,
that
I
slam
mean,
picture,
they
and it
may
was all
have,
black
you
ladies.
know,
but
but
look,
there is
you
a
know what
core
else?
black, I mean,
Mm-mm.
so I mean, I
Let
think
let's
what that,
Sorry,
sorry, go
go
ahead.
ahead.
let's not forget the biggest thing that mostly black players in America do is stay the fuck away from the USTA.
Well, I was just about to say that, but not the men,
The women.
the women, because Francis
But
is all USTA.
Yeah,
yeah,
but the women. Coco went to Paris and trained with Patrick Martoglou. Taylor was like, "Y'all fucked me, so fuck you," and went with Donald's parents. Venus and Serena are a product of the USTA.
Are they?
I mean, I said are not.
Or not? Yes. Mhm.
I think that speaks volumes about
Sure
the
does.
culture,
Well,
without having to say anything.
when you walk into that environment, it is very, very, very obvious. It's the difference between what I always say about basketball and the other team sports. Basketball, the NBA is the sport that lets that adapts to the people who play it, and the other sports make you adapt to it. And I think the black women in tennis are really doing a phenomenal job right now of making tennis adapt to them. So they get to maintain a sense of self. They're not like, I'm in this hostile territory. Like if you're a black baseball player, you are in the major leagues, you are expected to adapt to a 19th century Southern redneck game. And the minute you show off a little flavor, the minute you show off a little bit of style, they're telling you to know your place. And that can absolutely crush your game. It crushes your joy. It crushes your everything. It crushes
Mhm.
your personality. And
I
I
didn't
think,
mean to create like some sort of chaotic moment, but I just feel like there's no joy in Felix's game, and I
mhm.
just try to find what is the thing that will connect him to his joy on a court, and I don't know.
Well, and losing
Well, I
and
think
Green
that's a
losing
legit
doesn't
point,
help.
though.
Yeah.
No, losing's never going to help. But if you don't feel welcome
no,
in the space that you're
yeah,
trying to create a life,
and I
that's
think
definitely not going to
that
help.
is part of it. Felix, what I might suggest, but they left. But you should have probably hang around among Feast and Sangha. Their joy. You know what I mean? And you do parler le français. So
Maybe he could do with a French coach. Get out of the
Maybe.
Spanish coach like that. The Spaniards have a
Well,
very
and
like a
specific
French
approach
French
to
coach,
playing,
not a Canadian
right?
French coach,
But
because
the
I think he
Spanish
still keep
players
his
have a
coach.
very specific style.
I wonder what
yeah,
Sangha would look like as a coach.
he never even
That's
had a coach. How's he going to be somebody's coach?
Listen to me. There will be no Sangha slander on
And
this
I am
side.
not. I love Joe. I lay Joe.
Okay.
And the real slander that hit me was when somebody who posted that picture of Songa in the French group. And they were like, "What's wrong with Song?" I was like, "No, there's
Kieran,
never
what do you mean
anything
Serena?
Oh
wrong with
Lord,
Tonga."
we're not going to
Serena-
address that. Please don't. That's going to take us
Yeah.
down a long rabbit hole.
Love
Anyway,
Kieran,
Joe.
on the women,
no. Mm-mm.
on the
So-
women's
Nope.
side,
Go for it.
let
Yes,
me
We'll go
just
to
please.
the
start off
women.
by saying let's get into them because I think we spend way too much time on the men, and the
Way
real
too
joy
much.
of the U.S.
And
Open
pretty
was
soon I'm going to
really
want to go to
Coco Gauff.
bed.
Exactly.
We gave the men
Um,
more than their due, but I needed to analyze why it was such a crappy tournament. I'm sorry.
I mean,
Fair enough. Fair enough.
but let me just say, there will be many things spoken about the women's tournament and the wonderful surprise, and then we got to drag Pam, and there was no Martina Navratilova anywhere in sight. Though too much
Oh, I
Billie
saw her on
Jean.
my damn TV.
Oh, I'm so
I
sorry
did.
for
She
that.
wasn't commentating
But
though. She was just sitting in the audience.
okay, wonderful as she should be. Now let's get Chrissy, Mary Jo, and the whole
All of them out
gang.
of there.
Yes, in the box. But let me just say, before we get into the great things, my biggest disappointment will have to be Petra Kitovic.
Why? I love everything that happened to her.
Petra. Wozniacki had a baby last week, and you lost in straight sets. In
That's
straight
exactly what
sets.
I like. That's exactly what she deserves.
And you know what? And you know what?
Why?
Really, like this is what was so interesting about this. Petra. Like it's only you. It gotta be you. You're like Nando. It's you.
Mm-mm.
You are the problem. You were the one who gave Caroline a major. It was you. Sent her to have a baby, and guess what? She came back and had a major comeback from you. Straight sets, Petra. What are we doing on tour? What is this mess?
Listen, maybe she's living that mediocre
No,
tennis player's life.
No. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. I don't want to
Then
hate
let's
Petra's
talk
a
about
nice
let's talk
girl
about
and all
Caroline
of
for a
that mess.
moment.
This is such a mess.
Did
I didn't
anybody
like the
enjoy watching
onesie.
Caroline?
No,
No,
I
I
did
didn't like
not.
that either.
Did
She doesn't
not.
have the body for that. Get
I
some
didn't
hips and
care.
ass
I
and
didn't
some
care about
tits
the
for her.
Oh, you were talking
Look-
about that. I don't know.
No,
This is-
I'm just saying, if there's somebody that needs to come back to the tour, it certainly
It
is
ain't
not
her.
Caroline Wozniacki. I was not missing
Yeah.
her at all.
You know what I
Muggs,
found
where are
interesting
you?
Golden
What are we
Retriever.
doing, Muggs? What is
Yep.
Gabinia doing?
The golden retriever. You know what I found interesting?
She married some stranger off the street. Ladies, what is we doing? Y'all
Yeah.
needed Serena off of the tour to get your shit together, and then this mess is happening. Like, listen
Stop.
to me. WTA.
Well, Kvitova never did much at the U.S. Open because of all the air
No,
and the asthma and the whole
They
thing. She
gave
never
her
does
night
anything here.
matches.
Heat.
They gave her night matches. We're not gonna say that.
It was
She
still
got night
hot as
matches.
fuck. It
She
was
got
hot
night
as
matches.
fuck.
It was
She
muggy.
got night matches.
Okay, but no, but we're not gonna. Let's
Okay,
talk
can
about
we
Carol.
do
And
this
you know what?
for the
Wait,
It was Kitova who gave Flavia Panetta 2015.
wait. What do you want to do,
Petra.
Howard?
Reels, take a seat.
What do you want to do, Howard?
Go ahead, Howard.
I want to start at the top
Uh-huh.
Okay.
and just go straight Coco.
Okay. Go straight, Coco.
And
I'm
I
in.
And the reason why I wanted to go straight Coco was simply because the Wozniacki match reminded me of this.
Mm-hmm.
Was when we were watching the first set against Sabalenka. I think I sent a message out to the group saying something like that. She's really not. Everything is make or miss on Sabalenka's part, and that she's really not dictating anything. I mean, she's retrieving. She's and that's essentially the Wozniacki game. And then what
Essentially, it's the only piece.
it's the only piece. But then what I found amazing about this match is how on earth did Coco Gauff turn into Djokovic midway through the second set, where it was like all of a sudden her defense was so good. The return was so good. The offense was just enough and then turned into real offense where you've got an opponent playing Coco Gauff, mind you, because no opponent has ever done this when they've played Coco, realizing I can't get the ball through her. And now this isn't just her getting balls back. This is me recognizing I can't win. And that was a switch that I had not seen before that I really think turned that championship match from, gee, we got into another final and Sabalenka just hit the ball all over the place and the opponent won, to Coco took that match.
She
took
sure
it.
did.
Look. I mean, not to, but I love Sabalenka.
I
do.
mean, tell
And-
her. Tell him, Reels.
but you know, and Andreen will correct me. I'll back me up in point. Let's be 100 here, okay? This is Sabalenka. Sabalenka
Yes,
would have
it
produced the
is.
same match
Yeah.
had she played anybody across that net.
True enough. But I'm not
Radwanska
talking
would have
about
been winning her
Sabalenka.
first U.S. Open if she was
Stop
playing
it.
Sabalenka.
No.
And let me be
No.
serious.
No.
Sabalenka is not a great mover. She's a
No.
big hitter.
Yep.
And I
That she
think that
is.
is I mean it's that
But-
two-dimensional game, right? And the serve can be wonky. And
True,
let's
but
take
she
this
hit
match,
enough shots
Yes.
in that match.
but
to
she
win that
doesn't have
match.
clean strokes. Sometimes you see Sabalenka just standing in any awkward position trying to hit a
No.
window. Girl,
No.
don't move your feet. She
No,
doesn't
true.
move her feet.
No,
She
and
wasn't
that's.
move- But
I'm not arguing. I'm not arguing any of that when it comes to Sabalenka. What I'm
right, but
saying is,
go back to
that-
the other two matches though. I want to go back to two matches which she lost this year. Sabalenka was in the semis of all the majors, right? And she played a great match for a set and a half
Yep.
against Mukova and against Anjabo.
Yep.
And I think in all of those matches, she served for the set, for the match.
Mhm.
So this was anybody who was doing like Mr. Goff, he did the scouting report that Sabalenka Coco just had to wait.
Just hang in there. She's
Just
going to give you a
wait.
chance.
Do
Yes.
not
Well,
get
Coco
done.
had to do a little
not
more
get
than
men-
just wait, though, because
No,
she
but-
didn't know what
but
the
I
fuck
mean,
to
but
do
don't
in that
beat up
first set.
yourself because the way in which Sabalenka came out in the opening set, you were about to be like, God, this bitch is gonna kick my ass off of this court.
No,
And it's
Coco
just
took it up.
hanging
No, I don't.
But
I
Coco
can't get
raised
on
her
board with
No,
that.
I'm just saying.
game on
I'm
this.
just
Coco
simply saying
raised
that
her
one-
level if she
No, I'm
took
saying
that
one-
shit.
Right, but I'm
wasn't-
saying
but it's not this. It's not as if Coco experienced first set Sabalenka. And part of that is obviously
Right.
the response, right? The response, which is that Coco started to give her loopier balls. She wasn't trying to like overhit her from the baseline, which you're not going to be able to do against a Sabalenka and the way she came out in the first set, right? Like
Mhm.
the thing about Sabalenka is if she's going to beat you, she's going to have to stay with her foot on your neck and be
Yep.
relentless for
Yep.
the second set is where Sabalenka lost the plot.
100%.
Lost, because
but the
fully
point I'm
dialed
making,
in.
Andreen, on this is that I think that Coco had a lot to do with her losing that plot.
Yep.
And
Yes.
normally she doesn't. And I think we were talking during the match, and I'm like, this has become a make or miss match by Sabalenka. It's her match. And then midway through that set, it really wasn't
Anymore.
anymore.
In the
And
third
that's
set,
the
in the
piece
third
that I
set.
thought was
Second
interesting.
set.
Second set, I'm sorry.
The second set.
Second
No,
set.
it's definitely the second set. She took control of that match. She started to control the rallies better. Coco did, which she had not been the case before. Sabalenka
right.
was hitting the ball.
Well, she
out of
learned how to
Coco's
manage
hand.
that power.
Pace, yep, that was coming at her, and she pulled back and started hitting loopier balls towards Sabalenka, forcing Sabalenka to hit one more shot.
Yep.
And
But I
then
think
And
Jeanette's
Coco
that,
is
point is-
fast.
and that Sabalenka couldn't just react and pull the trigger right away.
Well, that's
anyway,
right.
have
which
to
is what
work the
she
She
point.
frustrated. She
You have
frustrated
to work the
Sabalenka.
point.
Yep.
You
But
have
she
to work the
frustrated
point.
Sabalenka. But the reason why I'm bringing this up and saying starting from the top is that she did something that is essentially, we've seen retrievers.
Yep.
We've seen players who play the way Coco had played. But what we hadn't seen, at least what I hadn't seen very often, was somebody really truly winning a game with defense to offense instead of, I think I'll just get balls back. Because there were times in that match where Sabalenka hit 3-4 winners, like point over, and then
And it wasn't.
it wasn't over. And that's the Agassi thing. If you want to beat a big hitter return, if you want to beat a big server return, and that was where you could see Sabalenka's face just crinkle. How the fuck do I get the ball past her?
And also now she's
Yep.
like, oh no,
And-
now
and not make an error.
And I'm
no.
making exactly.
But now
And I
she's
can't
gonna
believe-
Sabalenka
be
was getting
like-
the ball past her, but they was out in the tram line. Like
Yeah,
that was
and
the
then
problem.
also now Sabalenka's now the thing, which is the thing I was talking to Bridge P about, and is that now Sabalenka is like, okay, shit, now my serve's under pressure.
That's right.
Which
I
is not
can't-
the case in the first set, right?
That's
like,
Right.
And so like Sabalenka can hit aces without any pressure, but as soon as that pressure comes,
Yep.
that double
And she-
fault journey is coming back.
And she
Well,
doesn't
but
know
you
how to
could've-
return unless she's hitting a return winner.
That's
Yes.
right. But you could have made the argument that this was the same way she played against Keys, but the difference was was that Keys did not beat her defensively. Keys hit her winners, Sabalenka hit her winners, and then Sabalenka just began to assert a little bit more.
The difference, though,
But they're the same player, though.
But the
That's
Keys
right.
and Sabalenka are the same player.
No, because the difference is in the Keys match, Sabalenka changed her strategy. She started to put more spice on the ball. She started to get Meddy to do more. She never did that in this match.
No, she didn't.
She never
She
flipped
couldn't.
that script. She couldn't.
And she
I
couldn't
mean,
have.
I think she tried. She wasn't able, which is why she was so frustrated.
No, I don't think so. I think what it was that
You don't think Sabalenka tried?
No,
I think
she just kept hitting harder. She didn't do what she did in the Madison Keys match.
I think
was like,
Sabalenka lost her strategy because Coco was frustrating her so much that she didn't realize that there were plan B's and C's that she could try. Exactly.
Maybe.
She was like,
but you see, but those things, it's Sabalenka came out like it's like a Rublev, right? I need to be better, but I don't have those skills in my toolkit.
But she did it against Meddy. Meddy, she's done it in other matches.
But I mean, Meddy has a big forehand.
No, I know.
Also, let's remember something else, Reels. Let's not forget Sabalenka has 2 majors in doubles as well. So it's not like she doesn't know how to play up there.
And go up
but
to the
she
net.
knows just cover half the court. She lost to Leylah Fernandez last year.
I mean, but she's a whole different player from last year, Real. She was giving up points and double faults.
What I'm just saying double faults in a match.
Yeah, that's back in the day. I mean, she was giving up whole games. But it was interesting.
4 or 5 of them.
She literally, I think Coco actually, to everyone's point, Coco took the match from her and completely crushed whatever strategy.
That's right.
That she could have tried to do. She literally started doing the hit harder.
That's right. My nickname for Djokovic has always been the boa constrictor, and that's what Coco did. She just started squeezing the life out of Sab. Like I can't breathe. I can't win.
You know, I mean, to that point, I would say that this was what Coco was doing throughout the entire tournament, right? She was like making the adjustment, playing to the level of the player, and you know that wonky forehand when she needed to, she just like shit. I gotta hit through this shit. I gotta go for broke.
She was really good. Remember, I was saying that in earlier rounds. I was like, Coco, please don't be all aggressive. You can still get back to your retrieving skills.
Right.
Yeah. Because she was able to adjust every single time and figure out a way to win. And that was the difference of this Coco in this tournament. Yep. Well, this summer, really.
And
but last year,
she still could have lost all the way. It wasn't like she was completely dominant throughout the tournament. There were all kinds of different places.
She had to find a way multiple times, and she continued to do that.
Point by point.
Yeah.
Point by point.
No, my thing was, listen, I said to Sabalenka, girl, get your serve right. No free points. Big girl like Sabalenka, you're not getting any free points. You're not getting any aces.
Yeah.
Like,
well, it's still a serve dominant game, and the match. You know, the match had been on her racket. The tournament had been on her racket where you can turn it around once you get your side of the net together. But what do you?
She was scattered.
But you know something with Sabalenka, and I've watched most of her matches, is that usually, and in for the majors, for the first week, Sabalenka is happy and she's free and she's relaxed.
Have you ever seen her play live, Reels?
Yeah, we watched her together.
Too many. Look, listen to me. Andrina and I are on the Sabalenka train. We have witnessed at the U.S. Open. Sabalenka gave Naomi Osaka her first major.
Yep.
Well, the reason why I asked if you had watched her live was because live Sabalenka is actually the most entertaining tennis in the world right now.
Andrina and I talk about this all the time.
That's
Sabalenka
right.
gives you a right. It's a telenovela. We're gonna have a plot. We're gonna have a plot twist. We're gonna go up and down. I mean, the only thing that doesn't happen is that a stepchild doesn't come out of some good work.
That's right.
Like Sabalenka is an enjoyable, but the only problem is that if you are, but it's problematic if you are rooting for Sabalenka.
Yeah, I was at her match last year on one of the middle courts. I think it was court 7 or 6. The one where Holger Rune got all mad that they put him on because he's so much more deserving of whatever he thinks he's deserving.
Clearly he wasn't.
But clearly he wasn't, right? I watched Sabalenka play against Kaya Kanepi, and it was it really was. It was an emotional it was like a Lifetime channel.
Oh, and
thing where
I experienced that in the WTA final in
Right.
Texas. We saw her go up against Iga.
I mean,
Oh my God, that was the most painful
and I
thing
loved
ever.
it because you're recognizing how hard this game really is. And
she
and
makes
Fajado.
it look hard. Oof.
She makes it look hard.
it is because she's looking like, what do I do? And there's nowhere to go. No coaches, no timeouts, no nothing. What do I? And now you can coach. But
No,
but
Coco managed that well though, and also she didn't meet.
She
the
told
moment.
them to shut up.
and that was the moment
Brad to shut up when she got broken up 4-1.
And that was the moment of the tournament because the guy who was doing all the talking was Brad Gilbert.
Yeah,
and
Coco tells them all to shut up when it gets close.
And
she wants to do it herself.
Did you see, Andreen, that Coco's mother tapped Brad on the shoulder and gave him gave the cut?
Yeah.
Gave him the cut.
Did
sign?
she?
She
Oh, I
did.
love it.
No, because
in other
Coco
words,
doesn't need noise in her ear when she's
they're
out
running
there
they're running the
solving.
show. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
she's
right.
problem solving. So Coco needs to that's what is lovely about Coco. Every time she was down this week or the last week, and the other players have been looking at their camp, she didn't. She looked at her camp in frustration, but then she dialed in and
She's
went.
like, I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do.
Business.
I gotta take this return game. I'm taking this return game. I am breaking this bitch here today. This is going to be broken.
Yeah, I'm the person who's got to solve this.
This is to me.
You're
right. She almost became like a Nole.
Yeah,
you broke me. Can you hold serve double? Can you hold serve?
Well, and that's going to be the real thing. Like, if you think about why Serena Williams did what she did from, say, 2012 to 2017, you look at her numbers. Serena was holding at 87, 88% and breaking at damn near 50. You have no chance.
I hated her.
I think Andre said something to me.
You had no chance.
Said something to me, I think, last week, Sunday, when we met. She says, oh, you remember that match against Azarenka, the 2012 US Open Finals?
Mm-hmm.
She said, Azarenka stuff for the match and never got match points.
They never got a match
point. Listen to me. It is. I mean, there are a lot of great Serena Williams matches, but, technique-wise. But you go to that third set when Azarenka dared to serve
that
for
match
the
is a
match.
classic.
The way in which Serena hunched down it is technique beyond, and that is what Sabalenka cannot do.
No, she needs to.
Sabalenka cannot.
She needs to study.
But
she needed to dial in and return serve.
Yeah,
I was like, girl,
Sabalenka doesn't know how to. There's a thing like
get quiet.
I guess muscle memory and quiet and just hone in. People. I think she almost thinks that she plays in the zone. I'm in the zone.
But she gotta learn what the business bun is all about.
Well,
she got stringy hair. Her hair is always in a bun. So
but that's kind of that's like what Nole does, right? Like when Serena is down, she is going to make the return game feel like a service game for her.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right. And that's what the American
I am controlling
men
the point.
Have the biggest problem with. It's like you've got to put pressure when you're not serving. That's where you break people.
Yep.
That's where when they're like, damn, I just broke, but I don't know if I'm going to hold it. I don't know if I can consolidate this.
But it's not even about that. It's just you're in problems when Azarenka, when Serena's just
and that's kind of the interesting difference, right? Like you're thinking about the kind of dominance that different people bring to the table. Because we were just talking about Djokovic,
but
and
it's
now we're
technique,
talking about
though.
Serena, right?
You're
thinking about. Yeah, and you're thinking about Coco. And I think the thing about Coco is the resilience in a match.
Well, that's the toughness, that it's not going to be gone. It's not it may be gone today, but it's not gone for the rest of the day. I just got to figure out a way to do it. And that brings me to another person who was the number one player of the world until she lost to Ostapenko, which was I wonder what's going to happen with, my nickname for her, with Iga Bully. Because
that match was great.
Oh my God.
Ostapenko was like,
I'm not afraid of you.
But what she did, she clearly had a game plan. In her on-court interview after the match, she was like, Iga doesn't like this. She doesn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
It's
So I
almost
know
like
what I
giving
got to do to bother her. And I'm just like, why don't more people think like
Well, because
that?
not everybody can hit the ball like she.
That's
exactly,
right.
and
Who's
also
got?
Well, you
Needs
don't
to do.
necessarily have to
listen to
think
me.
like that, but if you know a
No, but
person has
who?
a certain style
No, but
you
and
that's
this
have
not
to
is
your
have,
what they
style.
do,
But
but you
that's not
see
your
the
style, right?
style,
Because the
yeah.
person who competes well against Iga is Sabalenka and Coco when she goes after her shot. Because what Ostapenko does is hit big and take time away from Iga. Iga
Mhm.
needs all the time
Because
in
you
the
get that
world.
same with Coco with that huge Western grip, and if you start putting it on her, I mean, and I think, Andreen, your point about dominance and the way that the way that players come in and impose their game, what starts to happen? What we saw at this tournament, and we saw it over the summer when Jessica Pegula beat her, is that if you hang in there with Iga, she's the one who's blinking.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, she
Yep.
doesn't like a third set. She doesn't
No.
like a
Exactly.
third set.
Mm-mm.
She's like, it's almost like her
Mukova
her
messed up
mind is
with
only
that.
programmed for 2 sets, and like she's like, you can see how that gif with that white lady who's like pulling down the curtains.
I love that. Mhm.
That's what I like. She's so angry. If you look up angry woman,
No,
that is
but
what I
there,
see. Iga is like she loses it because you know what Iga realized in the second set against Ostapenko. Ostapenko let her win the first set. That is what Iga realized. And then in the beginning of the third set, she was just like, wait, this
what are
bitch
you
is
still
going to bagel
exactly?
me, the number one player in the world. I
It
have
was
no
hilarious.
injury.
It was
I am going to be
hilarious.
bigger. Listen to me.
Ostapenko is just such a fucking hot mess
She's one
that
of my favorite players
it's
to watch, by the way.
it's so fun. It is so fun because she's yelling and looking. I mean, she just looks crazy. Her face, her eyes, they don't look quite right,
And
and the
she's
hair is
Federer's
all over the
best friend, by
place.
the way. By the way,
Hey, listen,
she
she
the line
just
automatic
made
line
Iga.
calling.
She looked.
She
Well,
Oh my god.
she said she doesn't believe
She said,
anything is
I
100%.
don't believe it.
She's
Exactly.
suspect, which I'm
She
all
said, I
for you,
have to
girl.
ask.
I'm waiting for
Yeah.
the controversial moment when we all realize that people are playing with
Oh
that line
yes.
calls.
I mean, because Caroline Wozniacki came up to a ball this week,
Starts
and she was like, "This ball
pouty
was out."
Wozniacki. You turn the lights on, and then you turn the lights on for her.
What the fuck?
The lights are on, and
She
okay, that's
bitched so
great.
much about them damn lights.
Okay, you're
Shut
gonna
the
put the
fuck
lights
up,
on now.
Karen.
Do
What
you
I
see?
loved about
Do you
that was it
see
was like
how
you
much
asked for
we
them
are
to turn the
ready?
lights on, and then they turn the lights on, and
But
you
she's
got
like,
it.
but you didn't turn it on when I asked. But I have to say, listen to how much laughter we're already having. The women's side has all of the upside, y'all. All the
Man.
upside. Because at the end of the day, listen, let me tell you something. The best thing that can happen right now is to have Sabalenka as your number one. That girl is going to be a leaky number one, and it is going to be a
Sure.
riot.
Her personality is so fun. Like I don't remember which
When
match it
she's
was.
having
She
fun.
was getting
Is she
interviewed.
cracking up on the
She
on the
wanted
podium?
to swear on TV,
She
and she was
did.
like, "Oh wait, I can't say that." She wanted to say "fuck." It was
Well,
coming out of her mouth, and she
well,
was like, "Oh wait, I
I
can't say
think
that
the
on TV."
reason
Like
why
she's just
Asta
fun.
no,
And
she's fun.
Coco was standing next to her at the ceremony, like, is she out of her mind?
Yeah, well, she was delirious and full of anger. But why was Ostapenko saying Coco? Well, I think Coco has a type of game that when you lose to her, you're trying to figure out why.
How did I lose to her?
Because it's not a big game. It's
She's
not like
crazy.
no. Like when she was saying that, I can understand that. You lose to Serena, you're like she served big and she
I mean,
returned
like,
like crazy. Coco has a kind of
did you see that
interesting
match?
game. No,
Well, and
but
you know what's
I mean, but it's
interesting about that,
also
Andreen?
the Ostapenko game. We all knew that Ostapenko was going to return. That's an unusual Ostapenko who kept it together enough, knew exactly what her
Yeah,
strategy
you expected
was.
her to crumble.
At some point, she was going to return
Yeah,
to
and she
Ostapenko
didn't.
of
Well,
norm, right? But I think there's something sort of weirdly like
Unassuming about Coco's game.
unassuming about Coco's game, and I think a lot
Well,
of players kind of hinted at it, probably also because she was getting so much attention from the
you
American
know what
side.
you know what I think part of it is? Her speed.
Yeah,
She is
it's the
so
speed.
fast.
Yep.
Well, I
That
think
girl can run.
Yeah, I think there's something else there too, which I think is really important in the women's game is that the women's game so far for the last, I don't know, this is to me it's the true legacy of the Williams sisters in addition to, the number of black women who are playing the sport. It's the fact that it's a power smash and bash game, and all them Eastern Europeans are crushing the ball. And you look at, even the little ones, the Camilla Georgie's crushed the ball, the Sipakovas crushed the ball, the Madison Keyses, they all crush the ball. And you look at Coco, and she doesn't crush the ball.
Doesn't crush the ball.
Yeah.
That's actually the thing everybody kept wanting her to do. It's
That's
like
right.
they wanted, and everyone keeps wanting that style of play from her, but she's actually
Sabalenka
not that
crushes
style.
the ball, right?
That's not her game.
But you see, this is the problem. But I mean, because of the court the way the court is set up, and we're playing on the same court where Nole and Medvedev are having 40-shot rallies, it's that the women crushing the ball is not going to be successful.
Well,
and in fact, this tournament, I think this tournament sort of like showed that, crushing the ball doesn't, because the balls were heavier. So the big hitters had more opportunities to have less errors. And then when people come in with subtle craft, because like I said, Coco was hanging, Coco was doing what needed to be done point by point.
Yeah.
Sabalenka was like, we're going to hit.
Well, the biggest thing about Coco that I had wanted for a long time watching her game was, well, wait a minute, you're the number one player in the world in doubles, and yet you play a baseline game.
Yeah, she does. And she still didn't do that this time around. It's just that, I mean, bless those errors from Sabalenka, but it's like she still hasn't come into like a four-court game at all. I mean, imagine when she does that.
That's right.
But she could do that more. And I have a problem with that, because I don't know. Again, I have a problem with the current generation's tennis IQ in general. I'm not seeing these players, a lot of them, learning as they go along. I'm just seeing them trying to be like.
Oh, can we talk about that though? Because I will say that is the thing that was happening with Ons for me.
Yeah.
Why did I sit and watch Ons play Queen Wen? And she was trying to bang this thing out from the baseline. I was
Queen was loving every bit of it.
It was like, here's this puffy forehand that you're giving me. At some point in the middle of the game, maybe she was delirious, because I know she was sort of sick the whole time. She started to do slicing and dicing like that's her game. And suddenly she was actually getting more return in play. Like things were actually happening in that game. But then she went back to banging it again. And I remember them saying at Wimbledon that she's tired of people complimenting her for her slices. She wants to be known as a big hitter. I was like,
what I really want to do is direct, right?
Like, why would you abandon a thing that you are absolutely fantastic at? Like, you are not going to out-hit Queen Wen. She's stronger than you.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why she wasn't trying as
well, can she just get fit?
But my thing is that if you want to be a big hitter, then hit big, then boo, because we're not seeing it.
It was the most frustrating match to watch, and everyone was there looking for a 3-setter, because let me tell you that Labor Day weekend crowd was like there for Ons. Okay, they had heard about her, they wanted to see her live, and then she didn't Ons.
I didn't realize she was sick though.
What?
Wasn't she in the final last year? They had an opportunity to see her last year. Wasn't she in the final?
No, I'm just saying they like her, so they came to see her do her Ons thing. They'd also seen her at Wimbledon. New people come around to check out the thing, and she didn't do her Ons play. She was trying to seriously bang it out at the baseline, and I was like, "That's not your game. What are you doing?"
I didn't watch any of that because I figured
in like 45 minutes.
Well, but I'm like, she could be messy, but she'll figure out a way to win. And then she lost. I was like, oh, okay, all right.
When you were talking about tennis IQ, Andreen, I'll tell you, my sneaky belief on this is I think this is why Wozniacki came back. I think she's looking. She goes, they don't know how to play tennis.
She essentially said that.
Did she really? I didn't catch that.
Yes.
But
do you see Pova? Pova's looking around going, can I do this? Can I come back up here?
Right?
No, she can't, Pova. Do not do that, Pova. You would have to piss in a cup every single day.
Every time.
You know you couldn't hang. You know you couldn't hang unless you want Super Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle sauce.
I mean,
so relax.
But I think when you watch Wozniacki win a few rounds, the very first thing that I noticed in her matches, including the Coco match, until Coco decided I got to get offensive because she can't break an egg. It was the fact that she's like, if I simply play this game, it reminded me of when I was interviewing Richard Williams back in the day at Wimbledon, and he was like, well, the very first thing I taught my girls was geometry. I was
Yeah.
teaching them the angles. I was
Poor
teaching them
thing,
how to
yeah.
actually play tennis. I wasn't teaching them how to smash the ball as hard as you can and still keep it in play. And I
Yeah.
think that the Wozniacki's of the world are looking at this going, they don't know how to play the game.
No. Yeah, and especially the top ones, right? Like Wozniacki probably thinks that she can hang with Iga.
Mm-hmm.
She
Like, you know, she's
probably can
looking at,
hang with
she's like, this
Iga.
girl's just getting the
They
ball
play
back
the
in
same
play.
fucking game.
Yeah. No, I mean, how many
Iga hits
slams
harder.
do I see Coco winning? I mean, you know, she's
11
already got,
billion. She's 19 or
I
20.
think she has a shot at getting like, but let's be real honest. Let's think about it. Who has the second highest number of slams? Is it still Venus?
Venus at 7. Venus has
Seven.
7.
On tour, you mean? Yes, Venus.
Yeah.
Venus has
Venus is
7.
7. And the others
And
are
Venus
like
shouldn't
at
be on
So
4
tour,
and
but you know
5.
what? I'm trying to start World
Osaka's
War
got
III
4.
here. Venus, go home.
No, the
Go
difference
home.
is, I will say this. Now, this is a different thing, right? So the question of how many slams can Coco win, given the return of Osaka next year on hard court, I
Mhm.
mean, Osaka loves that.
Depends on who comes back.
It
Depends on
depends
what
on
type
how
of
they
Osaka
do.
we get.
I
Are we going to
mean,
get the old lady wig Osaka or the curly haired
oh, I
good
think
player
I
Osaka?
think we're
Osaka
getting.
looked like she stole something and was trying to hide from the police with that
I
wig
don't
and
know. She looked
that
crazy
cap
to
Can I
on.
me.
tell you,
So
you know who you're gonna get back? I think you're gonna get back. Girl wants to be up there and beat these other girls because I'm gonna show my kid that I have a reason for playing again. I think she has a new
Well,
purpose, and I think she's gonna come back strong. I mean, my sense of it is that Coco has the kind of game where, I mean, like, I was curious about seeing her go up against Iga in a slam again because I'm like wanting to see whether she could actually do it again. You know what I mean? Like, it's
mhm.
interesting to me. I don't know. I mean, I think Coco gets like, I think she gets another slam next year if she
Yeah,
plays well.
Coco has the kind of game, to me right now, as of today,
Yeah.
having 24 or 26 hours after she wins her first major. She has the kind of game where she could win 4 or 5 more, but she
Yeah.
has the game where she might get another one, simply because
yeah.
We just don't know. Yeah.
we just don't know because it's too early.
And we
2,
don't know who's gonna come on
and we
tour.
don't know coming because the world keeps shifting. All these new players
Because
come.
I mean, like, I can't believe Ego out here having what 4 or 5.
But
Like,
reals, let's consider something. I think we need to consider like 2 things that are really important in this conversation, right? One, we don't even know what the landscape looks like, to your point, because Ash Barty was in play. She's not in play. Osaka was in
Yeah.
play.
I
She's
didn't
not
even
in
remember
play.
that was a thing. Oh my
You know what
god.
I'm saying? And so it's
Yeah.
like, Serena was in play, and now she's not. Well, obviously Serena wasn't going to play forever, but the landscape over the last 18 to 20 months has
And the
shifted so
women's
great.
game changes
Nobody knows what it
often.
looks like.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Changes often because I mean the question for me is I think Iga goes away and comes back, and I don't think she disappears. I think Iga comes back and ready to fight for that slot again.
Oh, for sure.
Well,
for sure.
let's do the same speed round that we did with the men. When you're looking at that top 10 right now, who do you look at? In fact, I'll just do it, and I want to hear you go. Give me the up or the down right now, right?
Somebody said that Pagola is in the bathroom in
Okay,
tears.
Iga's number 1. Is Iga on?
I
Is
saw
Iga
that.
on
I
the
saw that in
upside,
my
or
mind.
I think Iga's still on the up.
I think Iga is still on the up. I think
On the
Iga
up,
comes
yeah.
back strong. I think she comes back stronger. I
Yeah.
think she's going to go back and try to get the World Tour, I mean, the WTA finals if she decides to come. I think she wants to, that's the next biggest title, right? I think
Yep.
the rest of the women in the top 5 are looking around going, I want the next big title. I want to close the year out strong. I think you've got
Okay.
Sabs. I think you got Pagula. I think you got
Rybakina.
Coco. And I think you got Rybakina,
Yes,
who I mean,
Rybakina.
who did not play that well but had been sick. We all
Yeah.
forgot about her.
Yeah, she's
I
been sick.
mean, yeah. So like, I think it's a battle royale. Frankly, I think Australia is going to be real interesting. And then, of course, you've got clay specialists, right? If you get Coco back into the final in Roland Garros, does she play better? I mean, I think so. Does she understand how to play on that surface better than she has in the past? That was the place where she had her breakout. So I see good things for her there. I don't know. I
You
feel
know, I
like
actually
next year
thought
is
that, you know
wild.
what's so funny? I thought that Coco would have stand a better chance of winning, that she would have won a doubles major before she
I
won
know.
Before she won
singles.
Listen, this was I mean, let's be real honest. This is a little bit of a surprise, no?
It's a huge
Yes and
surprise.
no. Yes and no. I mean, one thing I have to say, you made a point earlier, Andrine, about how I think Coco has handled all of this, like, and embrace the blackness, whatever. But she has managed herself in all these moments, the big moments when she was 15. She's managed them well, gracefully. She has amazing parents and team around her, except Brad Gilbert, but she handles every challenge put in front of her gracefully, and then she overcomes these challenges. And
Yeah.
she was playing really well this summer. She won a 500, she won a 1000, and she beat Iga. Iga was in her way
Was her
every
block.
friggin' time.
Yep.
And she
That's right.
told herself, Pagula B, and she knows that's a good home
But she
girl.
was
She was
tired.
like,
See, and that's
she
the
was
thing,
tired.
Reels, you're hitting the point that I'm trying to make right now is that when you look at someone like Coco, because of the presence of Iga, Coco is like, I gotta beat her if I'm gonna meet if I want to get to where I want to go, right? Do you feel that from a guy like FAA?
She actually said that. She
Yeah,
said that, but it's a
exactly.
different beast. She
Came
said
out
that in
and
the past. I think when she played
But you know
Iga
what? The
one time.
difference. But you know what? Let me just say, it's the same issue as on the men's side. We talk about this. You can beat the guys in the best of 3. The slam is a different thing. They do
Yes.
not have that practice.
They
The
don't
women's
have it.
tour is the same on the slam side. It's the
That's
best
right.
of 3.
But
Like it's a whole different ball of wax. That's a
True.
huge thing. I think that people keep underestimating that. You had more parity when you were getting best of 5 in the
Masters.
thousands,
In the Masters, yep.
You need prep. You need to have that practice. These kids don't have that practice. The women's tour is just like, yeah, you're not having a bye in the first round, but that's it. So
Well,
I don't think there's a substantial difference there. I think unless you're going to start introducing back best of 5, these kids are always going to be struggling physically to come good in the slam. But at the same
Yes.
time, Novak is the only one that's really experienced. And I say when Novak's not there, it's a ruckus. The guys have belief in a totally different way. It's just
but you
a
know what
different
though?
mindset.
But agreed. And I don't want to get away from Coco, but I'm looking at this. This top 10. Half of the women have won a slam.
Of
won
course,
a major.
it's a solid top 10.
Right? It's and which is very different from the men's side. But if you look at, let's go Pagula. Is Pagula on the up or the down?
I actually think she's on the up. I think she's on the up
too.
I think she still is. Yeah.
I think once a good Judy wins a major, she's gonna get her shit together. She gotta have to.
Rybakina for sure. Rybakina was sick all year. That Wimbledon thing that she got was slightly COVID, I think.
And she's mad at Melbourne. She's mad for Melbourne. She's mad at Melbourne.
Still mad about exactly. What about Ons?
Flat.
I think she's stuck.
Flat line.
Coco
she's got a lot to work way up.
Here's a number 7 that is always weird to me, but yet she remains in the top 10 is Caroline Garcia.
Oh,
what?
Because
I want to see the mask. I want to see the mask.
Because she could be good. You know, she got to defend that World Tour final. She could be good, clean.
She's hot and cold. I like Caroline.
I need to see the math on that. Can I see the receipt? I'm gonna go to the website.
I don't think she comes good for like the next 6 months.
She's
then
done.
She's
done and dusted. Can she? Does she even qualify for the World Tour Finals anyway? No, she's still.
What about Sakari?
No, she's number 8.
Number 8.
Who's doing the accounting for this? What is this?
Yes,
I agree. Trump accounting. This sounds like Trump accounting. I don't like this.
Yeah,
I think she's on the downswing.
She's a little bit of downswing. I think she needs a change.
And I'm actually concerned about Ons as well because to your point, because you're not transitioning to 5 sets from 3, it's all mental.
Yeah.
And if you're Ons and if you're Sakari, you're looking in the mirror and you're like, can I do this?
And it's all them. It's all them.
And it's all
and plus they have PTSD. They got PTSD. They lost
that's it. That's the mental part.
They lost some brutal matches.
Ons can work on lots of things though. Sakari seems, I don't know, like
Sakari lost to Emma Raducanu.
Ons has one more deep run somewhere. And I'm going to give her one more shot so she can stop crying at Wimbledon.
And Sakari came out after the tournament like, maybe I need some time off.
Yeah, you do. And who's the 9th and 10th?
Vondrousova and Mukhova.
Can I just...
I don't know about Vondrousova.
3 checks in a row, 9, 10, and 11. Vondrousova, Mukhova, and Kvitova.
Vondrousova was injured.
And Krejcikova, number 12.
Yeah, Krejcikova
again, who's doing the math?
Listen,
Barbara won that French Open, 2 years ago?
Yeah, but then she did really well at the World Tour Finals. The WTA Finals. So I have to say, if she could stay healthy, I think she pronounces Mukhova, right?
Yeah, Mukhova.
Mukhova?
No, they call her something else. I'm heard Christine.
Mukhova.
Yeah,
Mahova,
Muhova.
yes.
I was
Muhova.
like, what is that?
Yeah, Muhova. So, and actually, you know who did it? It was our favorite blonde.
Chrissy?
Christy.
No, no, no. The young lady who was doing coverage. She's still doing.
McKendry?
No, 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 no. She's younger.
I
I'll
don't know.
we'll remind her. She's on Twitter. She's always doing like she used to do like the asides.
Oh,
Yeah, her. Blair.
No,
And
Blair.
I know
Blair.
Blair spends time rehearsing, so
Yeah.
I know she got the pronunciation right. She's not doing the traditional like I'm not going to pronounce well.
And
So
the reason
she
why I was
pronounced
talking about
Mahova
this
well.
top 10 is like, it's like, so when you start looking at who is actually the real competition, there's
Sure.
tons of competition.
Tons of competition, and even tons of competition for people who are not in the top
In the
10.
top 10,
That's
yeah.
Correct.
So Mahova, I liked her. I've been telling everybody who could listen that Kirstia match was one of my favorite. I mean, it was 6-love for Kirstia, but
I
Mahova
just feel
was.
like she's a bad bitch. I don't know
Mahova
if it's the
was.
tattoos or what, but she just like
Are you
she
talking about?
looks all
Are you talking about
business.
You're talking
Vondrusova?
about Wanda
Oh yeah, I'm
Yeah,
talking
I'm
about
talking about
tattoo
Nikita.
girl.
No,
Yeah.
no, Tattoo Girl's great. No, Tattoo Girl's great. I saw her
Tattoo
live.
Girl's
She's
great.
cool. Easy
Wor-
power. But
Worst ink on tour, though.
Mahova was amazing in that match. The hitting.
She was good.
She's a
That was a
beautiful
fun match.
player. She's a
Yeah.
wonderful player. I think that you know what, but her body breaks down, and she kind of goes in her own way. It seems to me.
And she had that sleeve on against Coco.
Yeah, well, she was. Yeah, she was. She probably went back again to her fragileness, but I think she's a solid one, and I think she can go deep again, like she did at the French. She was great.
And
But
she
you know
almost won
what?
the French.
Yeah, but you know who we haven't even mentioned? Coplis, whatever that's going on.
No,
Oh,
she's done.
Houston ladder. She's done.
Is she
No,
done?
she
25.
she and her sister otherwise not making money.
25 in the world.
Is she at 25 in the world?
Listen to me. They be taking her out on code 7 without she even knowing.
Oh,
how
somebody
quickly-
asked us this, and I meant to, because obviously we are the most gentle podcast because we are fans of hers. What do we think about?
Madison Keys is in the top 10.
No, she's not in the top 10. But Madison Keys,
and Creature up there. Like, no,
Mahova is great. Madison Keys is just one of those players. I like to think of Madison Keys as like, occasionally she'll surprise you, but you don't want to take her for granted because then she'll really drop the bomb on you.
Madison Keys is one of those players where you always expect her to play at Wimbledon. Big hitter, big serve.
Yeah.
So her stock goes up at Wimbledon. Her stock goes up at the U.S. Open.
She had a nice run at Australia last year.
And she's a lurker,
Yeah, she can come in. Yep.
Let me just throw this out to the group. Why did she lose to Sabalenka?
Mental.
Listen to me. Madison Keys always locks herself out of easy wins.
Mm-hmm.
I've said this ages and ages and ages.
She started off really well.
6-love.
And then she
was up 5-3.
Yep.
She served for the match 6-0, 5-4.
And again,
and got broken at love.
It's the same.
She looked like she wanted to go sit down and cry.
I told Janina
she cried after the match.
I told
Janina
this.
She
I
did.
said
she's still crying.
I can see Madison not having a fire and edge. Too nice, as they say.
Is she too nice?
That's what they say.
I mean, no. Chilich won a major deb. Madison didn't
That's
even
true.
come close.
Chilich did win a major.
And has been in a couple finals.
I've been in a couple finals too. Yes.
No, I think actually
Chilich
has a little bit more margin than Madison as well. Like he could actually hit the ball inside the court.
Yeah,
did he retire?
I guess so. Did he?
Injured. Yeah. And he had another baby, I guess. But the thing about Madison and Sabalenka, which I don't understand why they're not trying to work on this. It's like when your A game isn't working, which will come, because their match always take on the same trajectory, right? I am winning the first set, I'm playing really well, then somehow the demons come. I think you have to embrace the demon and learn how to play with the demons when they show up. You can't,
because they both have good off-court games, honestly.
That's the thing. They don't have, as everyone always says, they're not the kind of people with a B game. Like
they don't know how to manage
them,
when it gets wonky.
Yeah, something in them says go harder as opposed
bash
to
through your problems. It's
be
a
measured. Yeah, pull back
approach.
a little bit and figure. So Madison for me is not somebody I really ever count out. because I think she can take off. Like,
But you can't
who
count on her
you
either.
can't count on her, which is horrible. But like, look, who thought Madison Keys was going to get to a semis? We hadn't thought about
Right.
it. But then she had a really nice
No.
showing at Wimbledon as well. Then she had a really good showing at Australia last year. So I wouldn't even put her down and say, oh, you know what? I'm not thinking about her. But she's a little slownish, right? Like, they can get on
But
a
but but, but
tear.
you know what I think some of these girls are missing, which helps in majors and for the men. If you're gonna be winning majors and being consistent at majors, is that you need to win several rounds in the locker room. Maddie
Yeah,
isn't winning any rounds in the
yeah, they
locker
all
room.
know. They all know what she
They
got
all know
going.
they got a chance.
Well,
They
that's
got a
what
Well,
chance
that's
to
somebody
get
said
right.
married.
about Coco, which it didn't work for them this time. They said in the locker room, everybody said when time gets rough, play to that forehand.
Mhm.
But
And they did.
again,
I mean,
and they did,
They
and she
did,
They
but
did
it
in the
and
didn't
that
first
work.
set.
Yeah.
and that forehand held
Didn't
up.
really
You
work
know,
out.
I
Yeah,
mean,
it held up.
I don't like this, but Coco reminds me of young Venus.
Mm.
really?
You know, yeah, they have the same energy, same wonky forehand too. But
Well,
But Venus
Venus
had a
comes
big
forward.
forehand, though.
huh?
Venus wasn't a big retriever though, no?
No,
No, but
Venus had a huge forehand.
Yeah.
when it was working, but I mean, there were
Okay,
times
well
when it
that was
did
actually what I was gonna start. So how do we all feel about Venus
need to go home.
Time to
and these
go.
wild
Need to
cards?
go home. Nope, no more, boo, no more,
I have
no
Venus
no
more.
problem
deserves
with Venus
every
Williams.
wild
No,
card
she does
she
No,
not.
she
gets.
She
doesn't.
Yes,
does
she
not.
does.
You know what
Okay, but
Venus don't
okay,
She
deserve?
can
let's
do
split it.
whatever she wants.
No,
But let's
she
split it in
can't.
half. Okay, she
She's
deserves every wild
43.
card, but she does not
Listen
deserve
to me.
prime time at Arthur Ashe.
Nope, nope.
Fine.
I don't care.
I can
Listen
deal
to
with
me.
that.
Give her
The
a wild
only
card and
thing
put her on
Venus,
court
nope, nope,
14.
nope.
No! Court
Listen to
17.
me. Listen to me.
Court 17
17 is
or
a good court.
Armstrong.
Most of these night matches at Ash, I want my money back. And not only do I want my money back, you gotta give me money for next year. I want Arco tennis next year. Imagine I paid good money to go to Ash night session, which is a
But you know
fraud to
what?
begin with.
Some
It's
people
I
always a
don't
just
get
want
fraud.
the
why.
experience
I
of seeing
I
Venus
want
They
a
only
Williams.
want
grandmother.
they
Go to court
only want a
14.
name.
Go to
Let me tell you
13.
something.
Listen to
In
me.
Ash, they only want a name. That's what those people are paying for. The
I
celebrities are
watched a
paying for
young
a name.
lady beat up a grandmother on the
Those
court.
people that sit there
And
in
then,
them high dollar tickets don't even know what tennis fucking is.
well, they sure
They
know they're
probably
gonna get
thought
their
they were
money's
watching
worth.
fucking Serena. Shit.
I
Okay,
know.
okay, so this is
I
my
know they
issue
know.
with the Venus thing.
No,
My issue with the Venus thing is Venus is the natural heir to the Billie Jean King thing. And listen, Billie Jean, good on you, lady. I love it. This era is calling for something different, okay? Because Billie Jean keeps telling me about Saudi Arabia money. And I'm like, Billie Jean, we need to introduce some ethical framework in our thinking, okay? It's a healthy tour. It's not all about the Benjamins. The women have already they've already defined themselves as great. Okay, we're not in the desperate. We need a sponsor. Let's go with a cigarette sponsor. Let's go with a deadly cancer causing thing. We're not in the same space anymore. And so my thing is, and I get it. I mean, this is my wish for Venus. I don't necessarily want. I'm not. I don't. She can retire whenever, but I just think that there's a place for Venus to have an interesting platform as somebody who has a clothing line that needs to be on more people.
Does
I
it?
need to hear her comment on matches because these people are droning on
Nike
and
ain't
saying
doing it, bro.
silly
Now
crap.
is Adidas.
Do we?
And I need her to be an effective coach. Like, there are roles for Venus at the next space that is just like an opening. The others that are there are not great.
Why don't I
They're
get
just
the
not
Why don't I
great.
get
And
the
maybe
impression
she's
that
not ready for that, but I'm
exactly?
just saying.
Well,
I don't-
Venus, give me a call, boo. You need to stop this. You
No,
let
I
some little
listen, Venus gets to
17-year-old
She
girl.
gets
decide.
to play for as
She gets
long as
to
she
No,
wants.
She
decide.
sure does.
no,
She
no.
can,
I'm
you
not
Yes,
can
she
make
taking
a
does.
that
Date
from
Crumb and
her.
play till she's 47
No,
if she wants. I
no.
don't care.
I'm not
Tamika
taking
Daddy
that
Crumb was
away from.
earning her spot.
Listen,
She was
I'm not
playing
You
the
know
taking
quality.
what?
that away from her, but I'm just saying, Venus, there is something for you on the other side because you are an icon. And it
Hmm.
is time for us to not always roll out Billie Jean King as the only person that can ever talk about legitimately pursuing something for the
Yeah,
good of the
because she's done
sport.
a lot.
You know what I mean? Like, you did do the equal prize money. What were your intentions? To just get paid the same as men? Great. I don't even need you to put any sauce on it. That's a good enough reason. But this moment when we were talking about equal prize money, I just felt like Venus should have been out there more prominent. This was one of her causes. It would have been interesting for her to be there. And I mean,
do
you
we
design good
know if
clothes.
Venus wants to be
I'm
seen
just
or
saying.
Venus
I'm
wants
just
to
saying
sell
that.
products?
But
Well,
I'm just
we
saying. But
know
she
that,
can sell better
we-
projects.
yeah.
She can sell products. Let me tell you something. Venus.
She can do it all.
Look at these women. These women are in clothing that are horrible. Venus, put some clothes on some of these ladies. Okay,
Yeah.
put your brand
Start
on
dressing
it.
some of these players.
I mean, look at Roger Federer putting clothes on all these boys and girls. I mean, is the design right? I don't
For
know.
the boys, but it's kind of hard to dress Iga anyway. So like, it's just the way it is. Iga,
So you know what
Iga
I
is
decided about Iga?
What did you
This
decide
tournament?
about Iga? You missed her. You liked her?
She's like Andy Roddick. She's only cute with a hat on.
Mm-mm. Don't go there. She's cute.
I'm
Leave her
going
alone.
there. She takes that hat off and she ain't cute.
I'm gonna leave that alone to you.
I'm
All
not gonna
right.
say
I haven't
anything
seen.
because
I haven't
last
seen her
time
without a hat.
Andre told me not to say
Yes,
anything.
you have.
Watch
What did I
myself.
tell you not to say? Did I say something?
You said stop yourself. So I'm
Oh
not gonna
well,
say
I
anything.
always tell you to stop yourself, but go for
I'm
it. Say
gonna
what
let
you
All
want.
right.
Gina have this and run away. But we're getting ahead of
that's
ourselves.
it.
because-
We
but
need to
let me
talk
just
about our
say,
favorite Coco moment and wrap it up.
Venus needs to go home.
Venus is
Mhm.
fine.
Off the court.
Moving on.
No more playing Venus. Stop it. Stop it.
You act
Well,
like
you
you
know
wouldn't
what?
go see
You know
her.
what? Somebody said to me, and I actually think it's a good idea. I actually think the time is right, and I'm taking this idea and I'm putting it out there for you, Bridge B. I think the time is right for a really wonderful senior tour. I think there's a generation of women who were sad they retired, but can't really compete with the 20-something-year-olds. But we would totally pay to see them play.
Sure will.
Yelena
Yeah,
Yankovic
because
is
they're
coming
your
back.
faves.
Yankovic,
Ivanovic,
Wozniacki, like there's,
Kleisters,
you know what I mean? They can play. I
and
would
Kim
see
Clijsters
them.
can't play tennis right now. Did you see
Yeah,
her
she
sitting in
can't.
the stands?
I
Exactly. She
mean,
can't
maybe
play.
not, but I'm just saying if she's
but
that
she ain't got to
competing,
run down with the
she
young
don't have to
girls.
run with the young girls. But there
Venus
are
ain't got a foot.
yeah, for like
So-
the next 2 to 3 years, there are a core set of women who we grew up with and loved.
Didn't
And
they
Panetta
kill the
needs to
men's
make some
tour
money
already?
because
Yeah.
Fabio ain't bringing home any. So
You know what I
Panetta
mean?
needs to
There's
work.
room for that. Like they do the senior tour, but it's usually much older players. I actually
Yeah,
think
that's
you can have a
true.
robust, fun tour with even a Serena. Like, you know what I mean? Like she's out there
Does
maybe
Serena
playing
Williams want
some
to play
doubles.
tennis?
You know what I mean? She may not want to, but I'm just saying. Like there's a
The
room.
men have a Masters, don't they? At least they had one.
They
at
have.
one
They
point.
used to have that. They used to have that Masters thing where it was like for retirees, and they're competing really well with each other in the same age range. I think that there's life. There's a little bit of life that could be had if you are just controlling the number. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying a Masters tour, like a couple times a year. I put down some money to see you compete well.
I actually wouldn't mind seeing some of those in the middle of a tournament.
Exactly. Like I don't mind that. So that's also one of the things I'm thinking about. Is like I'd love to see some of that because they went too soon, or I'm too young still, and I want to still see them.
It's probably a little bit of both, Andreen. That sounds amazing, though. I mean, I would totally want to see that.
I would see a couple
Absolutely.
of those. I'd see a couple of those early
Do I really want to
retirees.
watch Venus and Sharapova play each other?
I would. Listen, Let me see what you're doing at that
Sharapova,
age.
I'm sure Meldonium will be okay on the seniors tour.
Other
testing.
than listen,
They not
don't
testing.
pretend. You all said that tennis is a lifelong sport. It doesn't all have to be the professional level.
On the
tour
tour,
level.
yeah,
no.
girl, yeah. Give some young baby a chance. Come in, girl, listen to me. Let this go. Let this go
Venus
because you
being.
know what? You know what I won't. Venus is 43 years old.
Oh, love
You
it
know
for
what is
her.
happening here?
What?
No one's talking about they beat a 43-year-old Venus. I beat
Not
the
anymore.
Venus Williams.
I know.
That's what these young girls are saying.
They
I
beat
beat
Venus.
the Venus Williams.
Well, that's
No,
the power
I
of
beat
Venus.
a
The
seven-time
name
That's
is
where
major
the
she's
thing.
at. That's what's going to happen.
No.
Do you know what?
Venus.
We need
Go
to
home.
introduce this.
Go sit
Well,
down.
if we're
Go
gonna tell
knit.
Venus to sit down, I guess we got to tell Andy Murray to sit down too, huh?
Yes.
Oh,
I've been-
Lord.
But Murray
I've been
wins more
telling him-
matches.
I've been
He
telling
does.
Andy that since 2012. But
Murray
y'all
wins
said
more
it was
matches,
too
but his
soon.
problem is he'll take out a fave, grind that favorite down,
That's right.
and then we're left in dust.
You know what else? Exactly. You know what Murray's other problem is? Is that he can win, but he can't win a major, and he's only
No.
playing because he still thinks he's a second week player.
I know.
But he hasn't reached the second week since his surgery.
But I tell you what, I'm pissed at anyone who lets him get to a second week. The moment I was like,
I'm pissed at anyone who let him get out of the first round of any tournament.
You
that's
gotta
my
test
biggest
them by
problem.
Anna Kips.
He does. I know everybody want to talk about Sir Andy, but Andy has one of the worst sportsmanship in any match he plays.
Well, did you see somebody say that
Bollocks.
online? Somebody say that online today. We've got to stop legitimatizing you screaming at your box, enraged. And I was like, wait a minute, that was Andy's entire shtick, was screaming at his box.
And then to have Lendl just sit there like he's at the dentist.
And then everybody tried to pretend like, oh my god, why is Curious going off like that? Like y'all
Because
don't.
you all receive it differently. When it's Andy, it's cute. When it's
Exactly.
other people, it's aggressive. When
Every
it's Nola, it's something
Eurosport
else.
has to continually say apologies for that language. Apologies for that language. Apologies for that language.
Can I also just throw one quick thing out there? When they were talking during the Shelton match
Yeah.
about his serve and the whole thing, I still maintain that Nick Kyrgios has the best serve on tour.
Well, it's effective. It's a best tour. For me, a serve is how you use it. It's not like an Isner
He
serve
can't
is
have
a
the best
bomb.
serve on tour when he ain't on tour.
Well,
He
he's
ain't
not on
playing.
tour. But
That's,
I
you
do
know,
think that his
I wasn't gonna
serve
say
works.
anything about Nick, but I miss him.
All I'm
Since
going to
you
say
brought his
about
name
this is
up.
that
I
it
don't.
says a
I
lot
don't.
about this podcast, or it says a lot about the man, or maybe it's both, that nobody is having a farewell for John Isner.
Nobody gives a fuck.
Oh my god. You see, I'm so petty. You see, God don't like ugly. But you know what? That was one of my favorite moments.
Okay, was that controversial for you guys? Was the Nole okay, let me ask you a couple of quick rounds of things that people got really upset about. Nole phone celebration.
Listen to
Loved
me.
it.
Novak
Nope,
is petty
nope,
as fuck.
Made me
I'm
laugh.
fine with it.
Listen.
I
Nope,
like
nope,
I
nope,
like
nope.
The man
the
is 36
stuff.
years old with 23 majors, and he trolled a 20-year-old.
Let me tell you something.
I
Here's
was
the
like,
thing.
oh shit,
Listen
I'm
to
fine
me.
with it.
If Rafa had done that, I
He
don't
wouldn't
care.
have.
If Federer had done this,
He
They
wouldn't
I
have.
wouldn't
He
have.
wouldn't
That's
have
the problem.
either.
They wouldn't do it.
But here's the thing. If John Isner had done this, I wouldn't have cared, right? I would have been like, whatever. But here's the thing. Nole is out here trying to tell people, I want to lead the tour. I want to be the
Exactly. Not
leader.
with
I
behavior
want to
like
be in
that.
charge of the PTA. I want these men to show up and follow me. We need to do things right, whatever the case may be. And you mistreat an underling
Mhm.
like that for a match that was never in any doubt
It's
that you were going
fucking
to win.
sport. It's
Listen to me.
sport.
You are going
Stop
to
pretending like he
no,
is this nice
listen to
person.
me.
Novak shows you who he is
Because
all the time.
Because
Believe
But you know
it.
what he
wants to
says?
position
But
himself.
here's the thing. He then goes in the press conference and says, "Oh my God, I kind of like the celebration, and I wanted to,
I just copied it
from
out of
him.
admiration.
I
No,
copied
you
it out of
didn't.
admiration." So you see, he
No,
can't
he
even
didn't. And we all know that.
You can't even
Of
be the
course
heel
he
when you're being a
is.
heel.
Of course, we know he's an
Okay,
asshole.
let me
but
ask
I'm
you about
simply
the phone
saying,
hang up
I'm simply
celebration.
saying, I'm simply saying that when he wants to then people to join his little squad or whatever the case may be, he gets only the worst actors can follow him. John
I mean,
isn't.
No, and that's on him.
And that's on him. The phone celebration against TFO.
I'm fine with it.
Not fine with it.
I'm fine with it. It's two young people, and they know each
Yeah.
other. They're
Wait,
friends.
so,
Who
so
cares?
since you're both fine with it, Howard, why weren't you not fine with it?
Well, I'm not fine with it because supposedly, like, if they're tight, then why are you showing me up like that? Like, one of the things you're supposedly not supposed to do is you're not supposed to be celebrating against one of your homies like that.
Serena
Who said
called Venus
that?
a fucking bitch. We're not gonna listen to me.
Unless we're not tight. If we're not tight, then I'm good with it.
Serena
Why does
called
it matter if they're
Venus
tight or not?
on
This is
tour.
sports.
That's a different thing. Yes, I agree. I mean, it might sound like I'm being hypocritical, but I thought that as a leader, as the person, the position of which Nole is in, yeah, boo, you're not
I
supposed
don't
to.
give
No,
a
I
Don't
fuck.
do
agree
that.
with I agree with
Tennis
Reels
can be
on this
so
simply-
boring. Give us
Okay.
something to talk about. Shit.
Okay.
I mean,
The reaction, two things. Medvedev bitching to the U.S. Open that they should have done something when he was dying on the court in the semi
absolutely.
against Rublev.
Absolutely.
Close, and John McEnroe said on the air that for heat, you got to close the roof.
They
They-
got to start doing what the Australian Open
There's a
does,
rule
right?
that says that. I mean, they literally told him they don't close the route for heat.
That's right.
They did later, right? They changed their minds because
They
it's not why
partially
they
closed
closed
it,
it later.
but as it stood within the match, they couldn't close the roof there.
We
well,
have
then-
to take care of the athletes, period.
But
Yeah,
you see,
because you got to follow what the Australian Open does. They do it for heat, and we are experiencing heat, so we should probably follow.
And
Correct.
the planet's on fire, which leads me to the
Correct.
next controversial thing. The protest.
Yes.
Oh Jesus. That
Well,
just
tennis
didn't do
has to.
anything but piss
I
me
mean,
off because
outdoor sports have to have a conversation
About
about these
climate.
kind of things. I
Right.
mean, like,
How
and
are
I
you
don't
going to
understand.
avoid that? With the
How
fires
are
in
you going to avoid
Australia,
that?
why are you avoiding talking about the fact that your sport is
I
an
mean,
outdoor sport? It's going to have
less
to be
than two
dealt
months
with.
ago,
New
and not
York
only
City,
that,
the
too, less than
sky
2
was
months
orange
ago.
6 weeks ago.
Thank you.
listen, and if it were
Exactly. In New York,
truly an
in
outdoor
New York
sport,
City.
but we wouldn't have the rule that, like if a match, the rule at the US Open is if they close the match and the match has to resume the next day, or they
It
close the
has to
roof,
stay open.
they
It has
have
stay
to keep it closed. No, if the weather permits or whatever, then open the fucking roof. It's an outdoor sport. It's like we're picking and choosing here.
We
No,
don't
we are
pick and
picking and
choose.
choosing. It's an
We
outdoor sport,
we
but if it's
s-
raining, you close the roof,
yeah,
and if it's
you close the
1,000
roof.
degrees outside, you close the roof.
And also
But
you
but I'm
decide,
saying no,
but
I'm
the
saying
rule is you stick with the condition that the match started in. That's what they
yeah,
say.
I
Like
don't
at
like that
Wimbledon,
rule.
they do that one, right? It's like
Yeah, I don't like it.
even if the weather's better the next day, if the match is finishing, you have to close the roof because it's supposed to be the same condition in which you started.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
Well, then
I
why
mean,
are you
that makes
closing the
Because
roof
the
mid
weather
match?
changes, but the weather can change as long as it's not rain. The weather conditions can change throughout a match 50 times.
That's fine. That's fine because weather is unpredictable. However, a closed roof is a steady state.
Yeah, I don't
Right.
like it. Let it be outdoor every single time it can be outdoor.
But Arthur Ashe almost always plays like an indoor coach since they've added the canopy over the stadium.
I mean, I
Well,
agree
anyways,
with
the question was the protest.
what was the question about the protest, Howard?
I think they were absolutely right, and I think tennis and sports in general, particularly outdoor sports, have to confront climate change, and they
He-
have to they
But
That's
how
have
the fuck you let somebody super glue their feet?
here's my
How did
they're
this
not
even
supposed to
happen?
do.
here's my question on that. When I was talking about the controversy, I did not like the fact that ESPN chose not to mention what it was. They said
Yeah.
it was a climate protest, but they didn't get into it.
Nope.
And especially when Coco came out and said, "Oh, I knew there was going to be a climate protest." She goes, "It was climate change, right?" I mean, so her generation, this is
We
for
already
you,
knew there was. They already knew
right?
it.
And they already
I
did it
said the
because the
same
kid
thing.
chained
They've done
himself
it
to the
every
net
year.
post at Wimbledon, right? Or the
Yeah,
French
they've
Open.
done it every year. They're doing
done
it
it-
at every major sporting
Exactly.
event.
And I thought there was an opportunity there to say, okay, well, we don't condone the fact that and this is the USTA when they put out their statement, we don't condone the fact that the match was interrupted. However, we are going to acknowledge that the planet's fucked up right now.
Yeah, they're never
No,
gonna do
come
that.
And they're never
on. They're
gonna-
not
and
going to
they're-
do
They're never
that.
gonna do
Well, I'm
that.
They're not
We're
gonna
not
do
going to do
that.
that, which is
I'm
why
not saying that they're
ESPN wouldn't
going to do
acknowledge
it. I'm
it.
saying I didn't like it.
But that's America.
I think
But
it was
you
dumb
see,
that they didn't do
and
it
this
because I
and
think
this
you could have chosen
again.
because again, you need to pick a position. You're sitting around talking about equal prize money, but you're not talking about the fact that your players are burning up on court and the fact
Thank
that
you.
Arthur Ashe is
That's
a
right.
badly designed stadium. And I mean, remember when our fave almost fainted? That's the only reason why Grigor won that match. Anyway, like
And if ever
the
there was
air
a
doesn't
guy
circulate well there.
who would actually support this stuff, it was Arthur Ashe.
Yes, exactly. So you name the damn thing after him, but you don't stand for anything he stands for. I mean, I won't get into Billie Jean King, but that's the
Margaret
reality
Court.
of it.
None of these stadiums. I mean, like, and again, where y'all gonna take this sport to Saudi
But
Arabia?
see,
That's
this
what.
is my thing. PTPA. Why wasn't Novak Djokovic making a statement about the heat
Thank
that
you.
he encountered against
He was
Rublev?
hanging up phones, boo. He was hanging
Not
up
him.
phones.
He wasn't playing
He was
against
hanging up phones.
Hanging up on,
You don't have time.
I'm sorry, I was busy.
He wasn't
I was hanging
answering
up on Ben
calls. He
Shelton.
wasn't answering calls.
I
And
mean,
this
this
is
is
why
So
I
I just-
can't take Nole
Yeah.
seriously.
Yeah, that's
because
I want to
this
say
is
that
the moment.
yeah.
as far as the protest, honestly, I didn't feel like I get that, it's nighttime, it's the US Open, there's a huge audience. I didn't really feel like I felt like it could have been done better somewhere else. I didn't think I am
That's
They all
not
not
burned
a
up in a massive-
protest, Janina.
Janina,
Protests
Janina,
are not
stop it.
Stop
convenient.
yourself. Exactly.
I get that, but look, all those people watching TV, how long did it take
We
Do you know
for
don't
what
give
it
a
did?
shit.
them
It
to
We don't
was
give
a
a
even
shit.
moment.
know?
I
All
wish
they
50
wanted
people had
was a
glued their feet
moment
to the
of your
ground.
consciousness.
Well,
They're
but
actively blocked.
well, you're not letting me get to my point. My point is, I don't know that everybody even knows what happened still.
Well,
That's my
only
point.
the only reason why they don't know what happened, Janina, is because the tennis program refused to acknowledge it.
And the network
And you
refused
have
to
Right.
and the
acknowledge it.
So,
network and
so
the
what I'm
network.
saying is, I'm not picking tennis to protest that. I would pick
But
something else.
there's no
That's what
way.
I'm saying.
But what I'm saying is the reason why it's not effective is not because of the protesters. It's because the network closed in. and
collusion. How
prevented
did you feel
themselves
about
from
football players
talking
taking a
about
knee
it.
and then they cut to commercial?
Yeah, like that's the entire problem. Is like they could have said same thing with the handshake, which they finally realized, and that they should put together paperwork and explain the fact that there is no
Ukrainian
handshake
players are
between
not shaking
Ukrainian
Russian
and
Right.
Belarusian
Russians, right?
players.
They finally, but again, this like amnesia. You want me to care about Ukraine, but you won't tell me the context of what's happening. You
That's
won't
right.
say, I'm going to explain in this moment that our Ukrainian players are feeling stressed out or distressed because of this thing that's happening. Like, it's weird and obnoxious. And it would
That's
have
right.
been
And you say you
fine.
care about climate change, but you're not going to discuss somebody who cared enough about this, who glued his feet to the stadium.
And the player, and your number
And the
one,
player-
not your number one player, and the player won and said, I
Medvedev,
actually don't mind the protesters. I believe in climate change.
That's
And
right.
I wasn't upset that they interrupted my match. I mean, that was so wonderful that Coco said that. She's like, because that's the normal thing is
Well,
for you to
that's
be
right.
upset that
No,
you
I get it. I get it. And I'm not
it
saying that
happened.
it shouldn't be done. I'm saying for me personally,
No, it's true.
it wouldn't
I got
be
you.
tennis. It wouldn't
Well,
be
I was
tennis.
Janina.
Oh, it has to be tennis. You know why?
But it
Because
has
it's
to be
freaking
tennis. It's an
rich.
outdoor sport.
No, it does. But I don't know. That wouldn't.
Yeah, and I
It
get you
wouldn't.
though.
That
Why
wouldn't
don't they
have
just
fixed
protest in the
that
privacy of their
moment.
own homes?
I mean,
Right.
Protest outside.
Medvedev-
Protest outside the stadium.
They're not-
Where
Medvedev,
nobody's
for what?
watching outside the
They
stadium.
will be
That's-
arrested. They don't need
my
it.
whole-
Exactly. Yeah.
And what got
They
me
need the
about it,
biggest stage. Yeah.
what got me about it was the number of my good, well-meaning liberal friends who were like, didn't want their tennis interrupted. Well, can't they go find another place to protest? I'm like, you sound like the other people.
Well, they sound like
before.
everybody. Everyone sounds like that because I
I mean,
that's the tricky
Medvedev-
thing about it.
Medvedev on camera when he was toweling off literally said, "We're gonna die.
Someone's gonna die.
Someone's."
And that
What
is
did
how
he?
tennis will
He said,
respond.
"Is it gonna take for one of us to die?" I think is what he said.
Mhm.
Medvedev
What he
pulled
should
out
have
a-
said
Tara
was-
said, yes, it is.
What he should have said
Well,
was,
yeah.
What he should have said was, "Hey, Nole, what's the PTPA position on climate
Exactly.
change?"
And he said, I'm on the phone with Ben Shelton.
I'm hanging up the phone.
Ow.
Exactly. Exactly.
No,
Yeah.
I mean it's all
I'll get back
performance.
to you. I'm trying to hang up on Ben Shelton.
See, this is why I don't take Nola seriously at all. Full
Oh
of
my
shit.
god.
No, I mean
yes,
I get it though. I mean that's the thing about it because I swear because when we were at Lever Cup and the protesters burned the floor, they said the protester set himself afire. First of all, I was like, "How did
I'm
he
not
get in
gluing
here?"
my fucking feet to anything.
Well, that's
first
the
of
whole
all.
point. Got a little bit of
That's
you gotta
the
do a
whole
little
point.
pain.
I mean,
I
people
ain't
put their
doing it.
bodies on the line for me to
You
vote.
got to put your body on the line so that someone is like distressed enough that you're like, why are they doing this?
Because
'Cause
apparently
everyone
asking
tries.
them kindly doesn't work, Janina.
That's right.
It doesn't
Please
work.
stop using your jet. Also, it's because these stadiums don't have a sustainability program, right? And so they come in,
Nope.
they do these massive activities. We are fully entertained, and then they don't have a sustainability program
The
around.
US, I mean,
And when you're
those quotes are
handing out
only
checks
effective
to
for three
Coco Golf for
weeks of the
$3.2
year.
million, let's not forget that Chase is supporting fossil fuels. It all connects.
Yeah, it's the fossil fuel thing. I mean, no, that's exactly right. These climate protesters are all connected
And those stadiums are only effective for 3 weeks.
through. Yep.
And meanwhile, guess what? We have a homelessness crisis.
It was,
And
you know
guess-
what? It wasn't
And guess
effective on
where
the
would never be
network.
used for refugees?
Yeah,
those
Yvette Mac.
stadiums.
Yvette asked. Well, actually, the sportscasters didn't cover it, but other networks covered it because the sportscasters would willfully not. But it used it as an occasion for other people to cover it, so it was covered on regular news, just not on ESPN.
I'm
because
trying to
ESPN
remember if I watched the news the next morning. I think I did, and they like maybe said something for 2 seconds and did not give it much credit.
No, because they're owned by.
I
the
don't
same
even
corporate
know. It
engagement.
was I
Yeah.
don't even know if they just said protester. I don't even know if they said what it was
But
for.
here's
Yeah,
the thing.
I
And if
read.
you killed out on the fossil
but you
fuels,
know
maybe
what
there
the
wouldn't be
interesting
so much
thing-
money in Saudi Arabia.
But here's the other interesting point, though.
Nobody gonna ask that
The-
question.
The other interesting thing is just that it doesn't even matter if the protests were effective or not. The heat won't kill us anyway.
Exactly.
Like we just keep on ignoring this, but this is an
No,
I mean,
existential
y'all,
crisis.
yeah.
You can't kick a can down the road because at City Open we had many people fainting, and so at some point in time,
Especially City.
Yeah, they're gonna
You're
have
gonna
to
die
think
down
about
there.
it. Yeah, they're gonna. No,
Well,
they're gonna.
someone
I tell you, that is Andreed. I'm glad you brought that up because
Medvedev
that was
was on
the
a
only tennis
Medvedev was
tournament
on
I
an
ever
asthma
went to
pump,
where
and
I
you
thought I
think
was
Right.
that
having a stroke.
Yeah, no, it's hot.
someone
down
asked
there.
me why I didn't go to Cleveland this year. I was like,
It's
it's
hot.
fucking hot.
Yeah.
see
It's hot.
I was at the
They
City
only
Open.
have 3 courts.
There's no real cover there.
There's
I
no
mean,
cover.
this is the thing that is the connection to tennis is that as tennis thinks about its revenue, if they require fans to show up and be comfortable, they're going to have to think about how to keep fans cool, and
Well,
they're
you know,
going to
Cleveland
have
had to evacuate.
yeah. So it's
Cleveland
gonna
had to
come from
evacuate.
yeah.
And they didn't have nowhere to go. I don't know where they had to evacuate due to weather because it was so bad. But you've got these thousands of people down there telling them to take cover. There is nowhere to take cover. Nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, at some point in time, it's going to become untenable to have certain tennis
and they have
tournaments in
two
certain places.
and
And
they
I
Yeah.
have
don't
two
even know
issues,
what
right?
they're
It's not
thinking
just the
about in
heat.
Saudi Arabia because I get that they'll go to Saudi Arabia. It'll be in the fall, so it'll be most likely
Oh no,
indoors.
Saudi Arabia have enough money and fossil fuels to air condition the whole thing.
No, I know.
They
That's what
will
I'm
be
saying.
indoors.
It's going to be indoors. But I'm
It's gonna
just
be
saying,
indoors.
like, that's actually one of the things I don't hear tennis talking enough about. So it is really interesting that in that moment they could have used it as an
They could have
opportunity to
used
like
it.
they could have
They
really
did
used it
not.
to demonstrate that they're taking control of it because they could be like, you know what, fans, I know it's really like in City Open, if you don't have a City Open card, you can't get into some of the tents, which
You
are
can't even get into the
Get
tent.
it?
Exactly. You just
Yeah.
sit out there and roast.
and
And you just roast.
You're
I
gonna
was in a-
die. You're gonna fucking
like I
die.
said, I went outside. I was at one of the matches at the last time I was at City, and it was so hot. I went upstairs. I was up in the press area, and there was a cooler with a whole bunch of ice and some sodas and stuff. I just stuck my hand in there, and I'm like, I'm dying right now. I'm
no,
like,
literally, Howard.
like,
And you're
To
not even
Howard's
playing.
point, can I tell you, we were so embarrassed. So, like, one person in the middle of Coco's match, a person faints, and of course, Coco's always the one that figures it out before anyone does, because I think she did in this one as well. So Coco's like, this fan is not okay. So the fan gets taken out, and it's it's a little bit of a break, and all is well. And then I'm sitting here going, well, how do you not know that you're overheated? So I'm thinking, obviously, these folks are cuckoo. 10 minutes, I'd say no less than 10 minutes later, another woman falls. And I'm
Oh,
like, maybe
man.
you don't know you're hot.
you don't know you're hot.
Do you know
until
what I mean?
Stand
Like,
up or move, or you make a sudden move, and you're
I
like, oh
start
shit,
thinking,
I'm dying.
and then I was like, oh my
Mhm.
God, maybe you actually don't know you're hot. So then I'm like, am I overheated?
I mean,
Like,
as someone who
it's
almost
like, you know,
and let me and to that point, as someone who almost died, you don't know you're dying until
yes, that's
someone
true.
tells you this.
And they tell
You
you how
keep
close you
thinking like
came.
you keep telling yourself something else is going on. Something is off. But what
Yeah, because
exactly
that
is
woman,
off?
obviously, because the
Your
other
brain,
person was a woman and she looked like she was fine. And then next thing I know, she just slumped over to
yeah.
the left.
I think
Mhm.
if your brain doesn't have an actual word or diagnosis of what is going on,
You're just
it doesn't
confused.
quite understand what the body is trying to do or tell you, because in your mind you are there doing a good thing and enjoying yourself. You want something else to happen,
exactly,
because
and you're not.
I know
inclined.
literally
That's right.
I was literally dying every day slowly and slowly, but I was like, I'm living my best life. I'm taking
Okay.
pictures.
I mean,
I'm
Cornell,
having a good
I
time.
love how Reels is introducing this thing like casually.
No,
Reels,
but
it was serious.
it was serious, and I mean, like it was, and it's like that's it.
Okay,
It's like
let's do non
it's like the
sequitur,
frog in the
y'all.
hot water.
This was a
The
big
frog
thing
doesn't
for
know
the
that it
summer. Our
is slowly
poor
boiling.
Reels was in real condition, real sickness over the summer. You're great. We're lucky we're even having this podcast right now.
That's
To
True
let y'all
story.
know. True story. Reels got very sick this summer. So we're really happy to have him here.
And I would tell you that my friend said to me, his barber said to me, but you know, if you had died, we have really great pictures for your program.
We
So-
did though. Okay, I'm gonna blow up your spot.
Nothing but
So
gallows
can I
humor
just
there.
say it was totally gallows humor because Reels is keeping us up on his vacation. And he's dropping these pictures, and these pictures are beautiful. And the people he's with are beautiful. The food looks good. And next thing I know, I hear from Janina, Reels is in the hospital.
He's in the
I'm like,
hospital.
what the? What?
True story. True story.
It was
Please
bad,
don't let them
guys.
use the sentence. He died doing what he loved.
Listen, I say please do that. I tell my family that every time I travel to some far off country to watch some godforsaken tennis, I'm like, I'm doing what I love.
Oh man. Yeah.
But
In honestly,
y'all,
my friend only said this to me after the fact. I was well and I was out of the hospital. Just said, we're looking back and we're just like, this thing was crazy. Like this really happened. So I think it's like when you're cooking in these stadiums, it's like the frog in the hot water, right?
yeah, you don't
He
know it.
doesn't know that he's actually cooking.
Yeah.
And
Well,
he's
I
swimming
fucking
around.
knew you were sick, but you didn't want to listen to me because I was on the other side of the goddamn world.
No,
And I was
mean,
like, you
I get
okay?
it.
You are not
I
okay.
get
You
it.
don't sound okay.
Listen
And then
to
next
me.
thing I know, I haven't heard from Reels in over 24 hours and goddamn motherfuckers in the goddamn ICU. And poor Boris, God bless him, because I know I drove that man nuts. I questioned fucking everything. I said, you ask these doctors this, you ask why he's taking this, why are they not doing this?
And then, of course, I
let
come
me
in
add to
late in the game, and I'm like, my mom is a nurse, and I come in late in the game. I'm like, Mom's like, send me pictures. What is it? What's the oxygen level?
Oh my God, that was me.
That's the level.
Let
I
me
was like,
just
Boris, you
add.
get pictures of
So
those
I
charts.
was in. Let me just say, I was.
Of course,
I
I can
was
leave the
in
hospital at 65.
I was in a hospital in a Spanish-speaking country, and
Yeah.
therefore that added to the whole,
Drama.
debacle because doctors couldn't communicate with me properly. So they
Yeah,
had to
I
My
will say
friend
that
had
one
to become my
morning,
power.
Reels and
Friend.
I were on the phone, and he said, Janina, this is a death sentence. I can't communicate with anyone. We're on the phone. He was like, how do you say 16? Oh God.
16.
Anyways,
Como
Yes,
fue
right.
que dijo Ríos?
Yes, he says.
Anyway,
Yes, he
we are
says.
approaching 3 hours on this podcast. I'm gonna
Jesus
spend
Lord.
5
Okay,
minutes
It's a
on
so
wrap.
I'm gonna give you my favorite Coco moment. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna talk about it. I'm just gonna say what it was, and then you guys can share yours.
Yes.
Well, I'm gonna give you two.
Sound like me now. See, you would have taken over the podcast if I had died.
One is that it only took her one match point.
Yeah.
I thought that was fucking amazing.
2.
I'm gonna give you three.
Should have started at
2.
the top.
2, I think that it was amazing and very brave and showed how centered she is in her faith that she dropped to her knees and prayed right there on court. I thought that was beautiful. 3,
No bueno.
No boy.
nope, I was fine with it. If that's what somebody wants to do in their moment, they should feel comfortable doing it. That's
I
what I
mean,
liked
that's
about
okay
it.
because I like her version of Christianity, but okay.
In 3, when she asked, "Can I have the mic for this?" and went the fuck off. But it was like that professional
Politely.
version where someone is telling you off and you don't even know what's happening
Nice,
until it's
nasty, as they
over.
say.
Is the
I
mic
was like,
on? Is the
girl,
mic on? Let me
I
have a
said,
moment.
yes.
Might I borrow this for a
She's
second,
like,
please?
I got some shit to say. Give me the mic. Have a seat. I might be here a minute. That was
Salty.
amazing.
All salty.
Amazing.
But
Amazing.
but it's funny that because people might take this the wrong way because it's a woman and it's a black woman, a black young woman. But let me just tell you, Michael Phelps stuck up a picture of Ian Thorpe in his locker, and he trained every day and looked at it because Ian Thorpe said, "Oh, this idiot ain't gonna win 8 gold medals in Beijing. Not gonna happen. Not gonna
Wow.
happen." And here we are,
Petty wins.
Michael. So, it's a beautiful Coco moment or just any moment.
Pick two. Pick
Of
a
the
beautiful
tournament.
Coco and anything
Okay.
you want.
Because I'm petty, I enjoyed that John Isner went out to wait. Howard, let me just correct you on something. Tiafoe doesn't have the ugliest strokes in tennis. It gotta be my pretty boy, Michael Moe.
Oh my
Listen to
goodness!
me.
During that match, I was like,
I
he's
don't
trying
know
to give
how
all the
Michael
competition
Moe
in the world for
serve
this
is
title.
allowed to be on tour. That is the male version of Sarah Rani. Like
You know
that
what I
thing should
said?
not be
Reels, I'll
legal.
tell you. I said, how
But
come the two ugliest strokes in tour got to be two brothers?
listen to me. But that probably says something to the people who are
Well,
coaching.
no, it's not the two ugliest. People say the ugliest strokes on tour is Medvedev. People think Medvedev has really
He
ugly
doesn't have
strokes.
pretty strokes.
Winning covers the multitude of
Exactly.
sins. Okay?
He just wins.
True.
But I mean, and Isna went out in tiebreakers. in both singles and doubles. I mean, if that
How
ain't
You
God,
fitting
got
I
is
don't
so
that?
know.
much joy from that.
I
How
mean,
fitting is
that
that?
is God. You mean
He
if
got
I
so
were
much
there,
joy
you know
from
what?
that.
If I had seen that in person, I know I would have been praying in public. Y'all would have seen me on TV.
And
Oh my God.
Mr. Maggot being sent into retirement by a black man.
Oh
You're a
shit.
Mm,
I
mess,
like
MAGA
it.
man.
All
Um,
right.
that is Black Jesus. That is Black Jesus. Black
I'll
Jesus,
go and
right
leave
there.
the I'll go and leave the guests
Um,
with the
and favorite
final
Coco
say.
moment, I
Yep.
think that I would say that since she has been very dodgy, serving out matches, that she just Sabalenka just had to give her that one time. She was like, "Girl, I ain't gonna let you catch me, break me again." That she served it out. I thought that was
Yeah.
really great, and I thought that just the whole ritual after winning, going up. I was kind of mad at those people in the rich people in the rich boxes. Don't high five her. Let that girl
Yeah,
walk freely. You want that Instagram moment? Get the fuck out of here, okay? But she said, I didn't see these people. I looked for my father, and I was so happy her mother came up. That was such a
same,
beautiful and a
same.
great moment for me because I thought that was just like, I know everyone was quick to pay. This is Brad, and this is this and whatever. She just like, look, my daddy's in control, and you could
Yeah.
tell. And like I said, from the beginning, from 15, this girl has been poised, and like she's always handled all the great moments, all the crazy moments. It's her parents. Her parents have been on top, and she's still a young woman. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
I know that some of those
She's
back in the
definitely
day,
got
those,
that good home training.
yeah, you know what
Yes,
I'm
good
saying?
home
And you could
training.
see
Sounding
that,
like
and
a
you could see
Jamaican.
Yep.
that mama looking at her girl. Girl, don't you dare embarrass me out here, girl. You could see that mom be giving her that eye, be like, that eye is becoming like, don't touch that in the supermarket,
I
don't
don't
touch
know,
it.
mom,
Yeah, but
mom's is
I
looking.
that I thought was really, really. I didn't cry. If I had feelings, I would have been crying. But that
Listen,
was
I
that was
totally
such a.
cried.
I mean,
Yeah,
And
tennis
I
got
haven't
something
cried
for
in a
free.
long time watching
Tennis
tennis.
got something for
Years.
free
A
on
decade.
Saturday evening. I don't even think tennis deserve it,
No, they didn't
but
deserve it, to be
no,
they didn't
honest.
deserve
well,
this. But that was a
exactly.
beautiful, beautiful moment.
Andrine, you want to go?
Yeah, I'll go and then you can go. I have a couple of moments that I loved. I loved when Coco admitted that her father was still the captain of the ship, and that he was the
Brad
one that
shot.
was, yeah, and that he was doing the scouting for her, and that she walked first to her family and then came back to her coaching team.
Yeah.
I thought that was just a really good, appropriate level of like, this is who's been here. Um, I love that about Coco. I think the second thing I loved was, let me tell you something. I'm petty, petty, petty. I don't think about her at all. So I loved when Sabalenka eliminated Madison Keys because she does not even come on my radar, Madison Keys. So
I was waiting for you to say that.
if there was a chance that Coco was going to lose the final, it
A Coco
needed to
Madison
be.
final would have created a lot
I
of angst.
I didn't even want it. I didn't even want it because I
Mm-mm.
did not want Coco to lose to Madison Keys, and I am petty like that. If she gonna lose to somebody, she gonna lose to the number one player. So I was happy that Sabalenka eliminated Madison Keys. And third, I liked when Sasha Zarev called out that fan who thought he was going to get Sasha excited by
No,
cheering some
with the Hitler
German
salute,
Hitler to lose,
the Hitler
and for
slur.
Sasha to like stop the whole thing and said
Oh my God, I
absolutely
missed
not.
that.
Yeah, the Hitler slur. Get him out
Yeah,
of here.
when he was
Oh
like, when
wow.
he basically, I think he thought he was gonna get a fan in Sasha by telling Sasha like some sort of Hitler phrase, which is something like Germany forever or something weird. It's not Hail Hitler. Everybody thought it was that, but it wasn't that.
Yeah,
It was something else.
it
And
was Make
so
America Great.
yeah, something like
Mm.
that. And for him to stop and said, that is not appropriate. As a German, I'm ashamed of what had happened, and I'm not okay with you using that. I wish more MAGA people did that. So I thought that that was just like, that's how you do. That's how
That's
you
how
handle
you're
those
supposed to
moments,
handle it.
people.
Hmm.
And then fourth, I really liked Coco's responses in press to pressure and the question about pressure. I loved her response about what is real pressure and her response about the protesters. Just really just thoughtful. And I
Hmm.
love that. And her ignoring you know, and her ignoring Pam Shriver.
Oh yes,
although,
thank you for
although she
mentioning
didn't
that.
really do it. I'm sure it looks like that to me, but um
But can I say that the moment, this Coco moment with her parents and fully being able to embrace that, can we just acknowledge that less than 20 years ago, the Williams sisters weren't even allowed to do that?
To go up there, and then get
No,
let they
to
to go up
fully,
and talk to your parents.
no, 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 to fully
To
acknowledge that,
embrace.
to
Mm,
how much they had to fight just to acknowledge their parents.
That's right.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It's a real change. Yeah, it's a real. I
And
mean,
we've
there's
seen
some
that,
progress
and
in
we've seen
that
it
way.
in a lifetime,
It's
you
true.
know.
Yeah.
That's a
So
good point. Very good point. All
Yeah.
of
All
mine
right,
were both
Howard.
petty and lovely. I love it.
Yeah. I would say for me, I don't moments for the tournament. Um, moments for the tournament. I don't know. I mean, it was just a great tournament. I mean, it was a terrible tournament, and then it turned into a really good tournament. Because at
until
first I was
Saturday, after Saturday, it was like, ooh.
yeah. I mean, I think that midway through the second week it became a real tournament. I was like, oh, this is why we watched, and it was terrific. I have two Coco moments. My favorite Coco moment was the Wozniacki match,
Mm,
where I think that was one of these, like when, as we were talking earlier about the other great players, where you try to find moments where players step into their greatness, and that would have been a really bad loss.
Yeah.
And she was heading in that direction, and then she realized, wait a minute, she can't hurt me. And she really raised her game and figured out a way to beat somebody who had the experience, and really that was an upset watch right there. And
mhm.
that was a great moment, because we're all watching this going, why isn't she just getting more offensive? Just get in and put her away. And she just it was a great, moment of maturity. And I think the second moment that I really enjoyed watching her was the family hug, was when they got there in the concourse, and then mom came in, and it was just all of them together, and it was like, and it really was. I think it hit me for two reasons. I think the first one was it was just poignant because it is a family, and it's a black family, in a sport that is against the total white backdrop at all times. But the second reason was because the last 2 years, think about where we've been. Last year was the Serena tournament. Last year was the Serena farewell, and let's not forget that there was so much anger inside the building. And Andreen, you and I were talking about this at the tournament, that even people at the USTA were sort of like behind the scenes going, well, why, we're still putting on a tournament here. Why are we giving Serena this much space? And it just became this sort of attractive yet unattractive thing. And then the very next year, Coco wins the tournament. And it's
Love
like
it.
there is a sea change. There is something happening here that you have to acknowledge about the type of player who is taking a major role in this sport. It's a big deal.
I
So
All
love
I
right.
love
that.
all of these moments,
I love
and
that.
we're almost approaching 3 hours, which was not supposed to be.
Mm-mm.
But this is a great.
5004.
I guess we're making up. I guess we're making up for the times that when we don't have a podcast, Janina. But we can close in this moment. I don't know when you would see us again. I know Andreen is planning on going to Mexico now that the W has finally announced a surprise schedule. They're
Listen,
like
Cancun, boo. Cancun. You know
Cancun.
I have to try it. I gotta try a little Cancun
So you
weekend. Let
have
me
been in the
see.
last 3 years. You have been to three different places for the WTA finals, right?
Where did I go last time? Where was
The
it? I went to
Guadalajara, I think it was, right?
Guadalajara.
No, I went
Right?
to Guadalajara. I went to Texas. Texas was the only good thing about Texas was this and Sabalenka went. No, she didn't win it, but Sabalenka beating Iga. But Cancun, I've actually never been to Cancun. So they have easy direct flights from the United States. So I thought I would give it a go because I also Coco's
From
number 1 in
LA.
no, I'm gonna be in DC. But also
Oh,
Coco is number 1 in doubles with
And number
Jesse
three in singles.
and 3 in singles. So no way she's not gonna be there. And I do think that I think everybody's gonna want to try to assert their dominance that week. And the
Mhm.
great thing about Mexico, they love their sport, so it's not going to be empty like it was in Texas. I don't care how much time they have; they're going to show up for this tennis tournament. So it's Guadalajara was a lot of fun.
Nice.
So we'll see. I mean, I will say I have heard from people that there are some challenges around safety in Cancun of late, but we'll
Mhm.
see.
Be careful.
We'll all have to be careful. But I
I
think we'll
mean, you
talk
know
about
what? I bet you any money the WTA is gonna switch it up in early October. and
No,
be
they're not
like,
going to switch it because you know
we
what?
gotta go to Saudi Arabia.
No. The
Cut
choice
it
was
out.
between Prague.
Oh,
I think the
meanwhile,
choice was between Prague and Saudi Arabia and Mexico, and I think they went to Mexico for the year in anticipation of going to Saudi Arabia next year, probably, or figuring out a way to politically do it. So when that happens and they eventually make that announcement, we'll have to talk about, should you go to Saudi Arabia? Soft
Mm.
power?
Mhm.
Is that the question on the table?
Andreen, if you consider that, that might be the time I tell you to keep your ass at home.
No, I'm probably not going to do that. I mean, I've been to Dubai, but that's about it.
Good enough.
I'm not
Yeah.
doing any of that.
All
Not
right.
doing
This
any
has
of
been
that.
fantastic.
They might collect
2
me as a
hours,
slave.
52 and
This
39.
is our
Thank
classic.
y'all.
But Howard, you
three-
stayed the whole time.
3-hour
Oh, look at this.
classic. Also,
So
I just
congr-
want to say for anyone who does this, go and enjoy Coco on Instagram. I know Janina is enjoying her on TikTok, but on Instagram,
She's
I'm
fun.
having a fun. I'm having a lot of fun. I will say Tennis Channel did 2 videos on Barbie, and I like Coco's reaction. I like Coco's response to the Sabalenka Barbie.
Oh boy. All right, we'll have to check that out.
Go.
Yeah. I'm bad like the Barbie. I love it.
And you know, and let me just say, you know, Sabalenka, I know you're listening to this podcast. Why else wouldn't you?
Yep.
I was really, really gutted. This is one of those finals where I didn't want anyone to lose, but someone had to lose. And I really, really, you've done well with your mental, you know, getting through these matches. And I know that's one of the things that pains you, that you know you beat yourself in this final. You know what I mean?
Indeed.
You could have competed a lot
Real-
better
Exactly.
than you
Well,
did.
Real, didn't
But I
send
have
you
to say,
But-
in the end, I wanted Coco to win because Sab has been here.
Yes.
And you know what? I just don't know what the future holds. And I hope Coco gets some more finals, but we can't take them for granted because
No, you
everyone
can't.
thought-
But
everyone
I also
thought
think that
Sloane was
one
going to get back here.
Yeah, and Andrina, I also think as I get ready to hang up right now is to say I hope that that final will make Sabs a better player because she has to.
Yes.
Now she has somebody that she has to deal with in a way that she probably hasn't had to deal with before. You know.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So
All right,
yes,
guys.
Lindsay, do
It's
you want to
been
coach
fun.
Sabs? Do you
All
want to
right.
coach Sabs?
Mhm.
Cut it out.
Sabs, get a dance
know.
partner, get a dance teacher. Okay, you gotta work your legs. You gotta work those feet.
I know.
But anyway, as always, I enjoy talking to you, ladies and gentlemen,
Mhm.
and to all the fans who have been listening and those who would listen later on. We're happy that you're tuning in to our 3-hour. We haven't had a 3-hour podcast in forever since Roger
Marathon.
was winning. I mean, this is
I
not-
know, but stop it all and say, listen, honestly, Reels, we tease,
We're
but we
happy
are
you're
so
healthy.
grateful that you are healthy. And I had
Yes.
to hug you and confirm it in person in New York.
I don't know if my mind really embraced the fact that I was going to die. I don't know if that I was dying, but I am here. Thank you all for the well wishes. I must say that I have an amazing group of friends there in Ecuador. I mean, I owe these people my life. And by the way, one of the nurses sent me back a message on Facebook because, listen to me, people, $0 healthcare. I went to a public hospital. They took care of me for 10 days. They didn't give me a bill or had any shit about insurance. No one came to be like, your insurance said we can't give you this course of treatment. Nothing. So I felt so bad. Like, not bad that I didn't have to spend any money, but bad that people just walk out of here and don't say anything. So I came back the next day, brought cake and card. And the woman found me on Facebook because she had my own government anyway. And she found Facebook.
I love that.
And said, one of the nurses, she said, we really appreciate it. Thank you. And she took a picture of where they had set it up and whatever. Because
that's
I
nice.
left because, there's a security guard. There's security guards in hospitals with guns. So I needed to get out. Plus, I didn't want to be in a hospital any longer than I needed to be. Okay, because I had been
we
in
love
that place
you,
for
and we're
10
glad
days.
you're home.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
I'm so
All right.
happy I'm home too. I miss
Good
my
night,
bed.
everyone.
Good night, y'all.
They don't let you sleep in ICU, people.
Yeah.
They don't let you sleep there. They don't. Good night, everyone. Howard, you can keep your job, okay? I know you can keep your job. We didn't say anything crazy.
Exactly. I'll keep my job.
Good night. Good night,
Good night.
everyone. Thank you for
Take
joining
care
us.
all.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.